truth in journalism, where brave men and women gave voice to the voiceless. But then the corporations bought the journalist, poisoning the news that we are fed. With those tainted sources, all we ever ate was a steady diet of status quo. This hijacked narrative hid the truth of mass suffering, injustice and corruption throughout our land. Status quo, status quo, status quo, status quo. To expose this shift to oligarchy came a band of honest journalists. They left the studio and hit the streets to give the microphone back to the people. From sea to sea, the people were empowered to share their truth. Their voices no longer stifled, reclaimed their power. Join the media revolution now.
Hey there, Jordan Sheridan, live status coup on a Sunday, 12:20 in the afternoon here on the East Coast. And boy, what a day, what a weekend. A lot of news to get to today. We have a couple videos from our in the field reporting. Who else is in the field reporting the stories the corporate media covers up? So we have a couple more videos to show you, some of it from South Bend, Indiana. One interview, I hope you have your tissues. It's not an easy interview, but I think it's going to expose even more of the corruption and, frankly, possibly even criminal behavior that has gone on in the South Bend Police Department, under now former Mayor Pete Buttigieg. We also have reporting, I recently interviewed some fine Elizabeth Warren supporters. And yeah, very interesting. So look forward to showing you some of that, giving you my thoughts. We also have reporting Marcus did in the field. He's in Iowa. He's actually right now en route to a Bernie Sanders rally in Iowa with Congresswoman Rashida Tlaib, as well as Congressman Ro Khanna. So Marcus will be there, and we look forward to his interviews from there. Hopefully, he'll be able to get some interviews with Congresswoman Tlaib or Khanna. We really hope. And of course, you know, we have the corporate media pretending that Bernie Sanders, that up is down is sideways, and Bernie Sanders, no. He's not currently leading in Iowa. No. So we have all of that for you. Looking very excited. Remember, we are live on Sundays when I don't know many others are. I work 7 days a week. We are live to fundraise for Status Coup. If you're unfamiliar, Status Coup is an independent, aggressive, in the field. That is our goal, to be in the field more than we are home from our lavish studio. So we're trying to fundraise. This is a super chat. Edwin just got it started in the super chat. Edwin, $5. What's up with AM Joy freaking on the Iowa poll? Trump is taking notice too. Shouldn't they support Bernie 2020? Oh, we're going to get to AM Joy in a minute. Thank you, Edwin, for getting us started in the super chat. As a quick reminder, folks, remember every single person. We already started with 260 viewers. Every person, if you can, press the like button. It's right under the video. The more people that press that like button, it's a thumbs up right under my ugly face. Press that like button. It will help us get this out to more people. Also, if you're not aware, we have a text alert list that we're growing. So if you aren't getting notifications from YouTube, which there's a good chance you're not, join our text list by texting 474747. Again, that's 474747. Enter in Coup, C-O-U-P, and you'll join our text list. We just sent out a text for this very live stream, so some of you might have already gotten that. Also, we're at Status Coup on the Twitter. We are live right now on Periscope, so hello to our friends watching on the Twitter sphere. We are also on Twitch. We're live, twitch.tv/status coup. Hope you could follow us there. And also very important, join our email list if you would be so kind. That's statuscoup.com statuscoup.com. And when you get there, you'll see a pop-up. Enter your email if you can. That would be very, very nice. So, and keep the super chats coming. We really, really need to fundraise. By the way, we had to reschedule. Tomorrow is our monthly members call. By the way, we didn't do one in December, so you're getting double the member call. This will be our first members call of the month. We'll have a second at the end of the month. So if you are a member, you know the drill. You'll get a link for our members call. It's going to be tomorrow night, January 13th, 7:30 Eastern Time, Jen and I. So definitely looking forward to that. If you're not a member, what are you doing? You get great bonus like our members call, which is a video call. It's not through YouTube, it's through Zoom. So sign up today. We are now 21 members away. 21 members away from 800 Status Coup members. For those of you who have been on the fence, we hope today will get you off. I have a lot of in-the-field reporting to show you. Statuscoup.com/join. You can become a member for as low as a cup of coffee a month. That's $5 a month. You can become a member. We also have $10 a month plans. Statuscoup.com/join. And if you can become a member before tomorrow night, you'll get the link to our monthly members call. And just for people who might be worried, you don't have to be on video. We are on video. Jen and I will be on video. But you could mute your video, so you don't have to be on video. You could be naked for all we care. But we're really excited. I should have some news for our members tomorrow that, unfortunately, regular viewers aren't going to get. So, Jen is going to be, hold on. Let me put the super chat. Whoever is the moderator in the super chat, help me out with the links, because Jen, going forward, she's got to spend more times with the kiddies, so she's not going to be in the live chat every Sunday. She'll be here sometimes, but not every Sunday. So she's hanging out with the kiddies today. We love her. She did some great reporting this week, which we're going to show too. So there's the link. Let's get started. Before I show you what is just incredible. Finally, Bernie's taken off the gloves. Wonderful graphic by our Colin Tooley. Before we get to that, I want to remind you here what's at stake. You know, the corporate media only really covers Trump in terms of impeachment, the Russian boogeyman, and things like that. They don't particularly like to focus on actual policy. Henry, don't start spreading rumors. I didn't say we're going to have a naked members call. I said you don't have to be on video. You could mute your video, so you could technically, you could be naked. But we're not saying we're all going to have a naked members call. Let's not start the rumor mill here. So, I want to remind you what's at stake, because as the Democratic corporate establishment continues to ride us into this iceberg that is Joe Biden as the nominee, they continue to push for this, despite the obvious that Joe Biden, and I'm about to show you in a little bit, his supporters look like they are in a hostage situation rather than actual excitement for a candidate. The Democratic Party establishment is knowingly pushing a candidate that, frankly, we could say what we want about Hillary Clinton, not a fan, is worse than Hillary Clinton ever was. He's a worse candidate, he's got a longer track record, and he will lose worse to Donald Trump. They are knowingly doing this, when the risk of Donald Trump is so unbelievable. I don't know if you saw this. Take a look at what Donald Trump said to his friends on Fox News.
Alone, we have sending more to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is paying us. We're sending more to Saudi Arabia, and Saudi Arabia is paying us for it. we're doing something that nobody's ever done. I said to Saudi Arabia, we have a very good relationship with Saudi Arabia. I said, listen, you're a very rich country. You want more troops? I'm going to send them to you, but you've got to pay us. They're paying us. They've already deposited $1 billion in the bank. We are going to help them, but these rich countries have to pay for it. South Korea gave us $500 million. They never gave us that. They gave us $500 million. I said, you got to help us along. We have 32,000 soldiers in South Korea protecting you from North Korea. You've got to pay. And they gave us $500 million. I mean, you saw that.
In case you missed that, that was the President of the United States saying that he's willing to use our military as a mercenary force. Not only that he's willing to use our military as a mercenary force, that he already has used our military as a mercenary force. Donald Trump just said on national television, you want more troops? You want us to send our men and women to you to kill Yemenis? Help you kill Yemenis women and children? You better pay up, buddy. This is not a commander-in-chief. This is a commander-in-profit. Can you imagine giving this man 4 more years? He has no issue starting wars if it means profit for the United Corporations of America. He doesn't look at men and women in the troops. I don't blame the troops. I blame the leaders sending them to these terrible wars. He sees men and women not as human beings. He sees men and women as just numbers on a balance sheet to be sent. Yemeni genocide. That is an impeachable offense. Thank you, Sandra Mayer. We got 415 people watching. 229 of you have pressed that like button. Thumbs up button right under the video. Smash that like button. Let's get this to more people. So you have the President of the United States. I barely even saw that. That is outrageous. Can you imagine for a second if Bernie Sanders ever said anything like that? That he would equate soldiers with making money? If it was Barack Obama or anybody but Trump, Fox News would be having a fucking coronary. Oh, I just demonetized myself. Swear jar. I already demonetized myself 10 minutes in. So, on one end, Trump is looking to, we already knew that the United States soldiers were mercenary troops. We're sending them around the world to steal people's oil, uranium, and all that. But the President of the United States is openly saying, give me the money, I'll send the troops wherever you'd like it. We'll drone for food. So, that's number one. But the stakes are even higher. I don't know if you saw this. Trump proposes change to environmental rules to speed up highway projects, pipelines, and more. I'm not going to read you the whole article, but Trump on Thursday proposed fundamental changes to 50-year-old regulations in an effort to speed up new mines, pipelines, and hundreds of other projects around the country, including some that could harm the environment and accelerate climate change. The move also could prevent communities from having much say about what gets built in their backyards. Flanked by members of his cabinet and labor leaders, as well as construction industry representatives in hard hats, Trump told reporters at the White House that his proposal will allow highways to be built in a small fraction of the time. So what this rule is, the proposed rules would narrow the scope of the National Environmental Policy Act, shorthand NEPA, which requires federal agencies to assess the impact of a major project before a spade of dirt is turned and to include the public in the process. The change would mean that communities would have less control over some projects built in their neighborhoods. Environmental groups tribal activists, and others have used the law to delay or block a slew of infrastructure, mining, logging, and drilling. So, shorthand, what NEPA is the environmental rule that, even though it was not successful in this case, it allowed, for example, the Standing Rock Sioux tribe, or the Cheyenne River Sioux tribe, or Greenpeace. It allows them to sue the U.S. Army Corps, Energy Transfer Partners, which was the parent company of the Dakota Access Pipeline. Thank you, Victory Gin 1999 in the super chat. Thank you for being you. Thanks for being you and the wonderful sticker. Keep it coming in the super chat. We got a lot of great reporting to show you today. It's not only going to be me mouthing off. We have interviews you haven't seen from South Bend. We have interviews I did with Warren supporters that I have a lot of thoughts about. Interviews Marcus did. A lot of great stuff. And last time I checked, is anyone else going in the trenches covering these stories? I don't think so. So help us fund more in the field reporting. Once again, it's a really, really crazy goal, I guess. I'd like to get that number to 800 by the end of today. That would mean 21 more of you need to sign up on the bottom line. I think it could be done. You could sign up for as low as $5 a month, statuscoup.com/join. If you join by tomorrow night, you'll be on our monthly members call. You'll get the link. It's not through YouTube, it's through Zoom. And woo, is members call fun. For those of you who have been on the members call, let people know in the super chat. A lot of fun. So, Donald Trump is basically trying to get rid of the main environmental rule that makes corporations, private interests, have to actually show that their fracked gas pipelines, their crude oil pipelines, are not going to poison the water, poison the air, kill the animals, destroy the planet, destroy sacred native lands. Granted, our judges, our politicians are all bought off by big oil. So even with NEPA, it's more times than not these projects go through. But there are cases with really great organizing between Native American tribes, environmental groups, that these projects are delayed and stuck in the courts. What Trump's trying to do is erase that. So you have the President of the United States in one clip saying, yeah, I'll send our soldiers anywhere. Just pay us money. We don't send soldiers to actually defend the country. We send soldiers to make more profits for the country. That's what he just said. And now you have him literally going around trying to work around, deregulate the lone environmental rule that actually can delay the fracked gas and crude oil pipelines that are doing more to inflame the inferno. I don't call it climate change anymore. I call it the inferno. That's what it is. Go look in Australia. He's trying to basically get rid of it. So, if anything, right? If there wasn't a time for the corporate Democratic establishment to say, you know what, we think Bernie Sanders is radical, but the planet is on the line, our military is on the line, and we're going to support whoever is the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump, even if we're not comfortable with Bernie Sanders. If there was ever a time for that, now is the time. Well, let's just say they're doing the opposite. And as I've been telling you basically for a year now, excuse me, my glasses are foggy. As I've been telling you basically for a year, this is a train wreck. This is the Titanic. I mean, Joe Biden has, figure this, Joe Biden has less enthusiasm on the ground than Hillary Clinton had. Joe Biden, I want to show you a clip. I'm going to tell you what I think after. Look how enthusiastic these supporters are for Joe Biden. Let's take a look.
Hi, it's Finnegan here. We're in Waterloo with 23 days left to the Iowa caucus, and we're going Hi, it's Finnegan here. We're in Waterloo with 23 days left to the Iowa caucus, and we're going to give you 23 reasons why Joe Biden.
He can beat the NRA.
He likes ice cream.
He has the experience.
He knows the foreign policy.
He wants to protect and expand on the Affordable Care Act.
He can restore the soul of this nation.
LGBTQ rights.
Joe Biden.
People trust Joe Biden.
He stands up for working class values.
He's an incredible person all around.
He's got the experience and age. A lot of them don't like that, but we need that today.
He's an incredibly genuine man.
He's going to get us back into the Paris Climate Accord.
He has empathy.
Climate was mine, so I'm going to reiterate that. Climate change.
He commands respect on the world stage.
He knows how to be a strong leader and lets other world leaders know who he is.
And going to do gun reform.
He can start today and take over and be the one to start today. We don't have to have somebody go in there or be in there that has to learn it. He knows it.
He has zero tolerance for malarkey.
He is just a humble and genuine human being who can represent the United States to its fullest capacity.
He can beat Trump like a drum.
4 more years of Ray-Bans.
He likes trains.
We're good.
Joe Biden.
Stop.
Listen, I don't want to offend the fine people of Iowa. Is this a political endorsement or a hostage situation? He likes ice cream? He'll beat Trump like a drum? He has zero tolerance for malarkey? It looks like, I'm just speculating, it looks like there was people holding like cue cards for them to read. And I'll tell you what, folks, I'll tell you what. Those people there, some I believe are paid by Biden's campaign, and we got 500 people watching. 500 people watching, 316 of you have pressed that thumbs up button. We need over 200 more of you. Press that thumbs up button. It makes a big difference. Want to thank Seth Peterson, $50 in the super chat. Seth, God bless you. You keep coming through. By the way, I don't know if you saw my email, but I said I want to hop on the phone with you to personally thank you. So get back to me. Let me know when's a good time. I'd love to get on the phone with you. Thank you for the $50. That's so kind, Seth. We really appreciate it. Very generous. So that looks like a hostage situation to me. And this is what you're seeing. Marcus is seeing it in the field. He's in Iowa for several weeks. There's very little enthusiasm for Joe Biden. And we see that now reflected in the polls. And, I want to be consistent. I don't take all of these polls as gospel. I'm not going to be like, criticize the ones where Bernie's not in first, but now be like, he's in first, so we got to trust it. I take it all with a grain of salt. I think Iowa in particular is definitely up for grabs. But what I do know is a strong pattern of polls has showed Joe Biden in either third or fourth in Iowa and New Hampshire. And we have the latest Des Moines Register poll, which I'm told is the gold standard, has Bernie at 20, Warren at 17, Mayor CIA, Pete Buttigieg, at 16, and Vice President Joe Biden at 15%. I got to tell you something. They could talk about Joe Biden's support among black people till the cows come home. And he does have support among black people. But you want to know something? In 2007 and 2008, thank you, Michelle, $2 in the super chat. Thank you, Chad, 10 NZs. I don't know what that means, but thank you. Keep up the great work, Jordan. Definitely looked like a hostage situation before. Thank you. What Hillary Clinton was leading in South Carolina in 2007. Well, and then Barack Obama won Iowa, and boy, did things change. So, I'm not saying Joe Biden would lose South Carolina, but Joe Biden right now, potentially, can lose Iowa and come in third or fourth. He could lose New Hampshire and come in second or third. He could lose Nevada, which comes before South Carolina. How is Joe Biden the strongest candidate if not only that he's a candidate, he's the last vice president? How is he the strongest candidate in a general election if he loses Iowa, New Hampshire? Yes, they are overwhelmingly white, but he's still the last vice president. We're still told he's the best candidate to defeat Donald Trump. And if he then loses Nevada, which is a lot more diverse, particularly among Latinos, how are they going to make the case? And of course, now that Bernie Sanders is on the Real Clear Politics average, leading in Iowa, he's also, I believe, leading in New Hampshire or very close. Now they're doing whatever they possibly can to play a game of make-believe, led by, oh God, this was really bad. This was really bad. I hope you've eaten. I know in the West Coast watching, it's only about 9:45 in the morning. Let's see, how our friend Joy Reid and her gang. Let's see how they responded to this. I mean, you just can't make it up.
John said the gold standard. This is it. When it came out last night at 7 o'clock or whatever time it came out, Eastern time, I looked at it and went, no way in hell is this right. But it has to be right because it's Des Moines, right? It's the Des Moines Register and CNN. And so, I mean, I just don't see this. I think a lot can change between now and the day of those caucuses. And these numbers, they tell me something at 30,000 feet. They tell me nothing on the ground in Des Moines or Dubuque or anywhere else. That's my takeaway from it.
Right, because there doesn't seem to be a coherent message, right? So you had Buttigieg doing really well, and then all of a sudden he's not. Like, did something change?
Right.
Did something happen to make this electorate move from being, because he's more in that moderate camp, to move all the way to Sanders? Did something change?
I think, listen, I think what's happened is that these top four campaigns have so many staff on the ground and are doing so many house calls, et cetera. And the members are there, the senators are there, and Mayor Pete's there quite a bit. So either they aren't liking his message and they liked it a month ago, or something's off in the poll. And I don't know what that means. I mean, it's not like he's changed his message. He just went up on TV down here in South Carolina. I saw it this morning at 6:30. It was a damn good ad. I assume he's on TV in Iowa. If he's not, perhaps that's why he's down 9 points. But the point is that I just think people aren't convinced yet. They're just not convinced.
Yeah.
And as we get closer and closer, they will make a decision.
Yeah.
Can I just want to add, the other thing we have to remember is Bernie Sanders is a known quantity in Iowa. He ran in 2016. And in 2016, one of the things that he did really well was caucuses. He did better in caucuses than the primary. And people see him as authentic. Bernie Sanders has been spending a lot of time in Iowa as well as Warren. So I think it's that. And
Did something happen? Did something happen? I've been asleep for the last 2 months. Did something happen? Oh, joy. By the way, that Jimmy Williams, I didn't even realize. Apparently he blocked me, so I couldn't find this tweet, but somebody took a screenshot. Take a look at Jimmy Williams. Do you think he's a little biased against Bernie Sanders? And people ask me why I don't like Bernie Sanders. Can't spell right, but that's okay. This is exactly why I can't stand the man. She stole the election. Like, who raised this psychopath? This was him 4 days ago, referencing something I guess a voter said in April 2019. I don't know what the voter was talking about. I guess Bernie Sanders supporter admits she voted for Trump as a joke. I guess that voter was referencing Hillary Clinton stealing the election. I don't know. But Joy Reid has a political analyst on who hates Bernie Sanders, calls his supporters psychopaths, to play make-believe on the poll. Well, let me explain what happened, Joy Reid. And I don't want to white-splain. I'm a white dude. Joy Reid is obviously black. But if she talked to black people in South Bend, I think she'd understand why Pete Buttigieg is not well-loved among the black community. But let me just explain what happened to Joy since she's struggling with this one. And we got 615 people watching. 419 have pressed that like button. Can I get another 200 people to press that like button? It's the thumbs up button right under the video. Makes a big difference. Pete was found in a wine cave in Napa Valley with 150 crystals as a chandelier, fundraising with lobbyists, fundraising with plutocrats in a wine cave. It got a lot of media attention. Then he was shown doing a walk of shame out of a fundraiser on Park Avenue in New York City that activists tracked him down. The media didn't challenge him. It had to be activists. It was shown that Pete Buttigieg is a younger, more coherently speaking Joe Biden. And people don't like it. It was also shown because white people in Iowa might not necessarily instinctually have such concerns about what did he do to the black community in South Bend? What did he do for the black community? But white folks in Iowa are very smart, and they're like, we don't want to vote for a guy who's got 2% black support. Hell no, we won't vote for him. And Pete lost 9 points in that Des Moines Register poll. Thank you. Cool Blue 71, $10 in the super chat. Support for Joe Biden is manufactured. If he ends up the nominee, Trump wins re-election with the same map and may flip New Hampshire. My home state, Michigan, is a toss-up, and it's likely U.S. Senate matchup. James First Peters. I think if Joe Biden becomes the nominee, Trump wins Pennsylvania, he wins Michigan, he wins Wisconsin, he wins Ohio. New Hampshire, possibly. Florida's a toss-up. Arizona's a toss-up, but I think he wins those 3 states still, Michigan, Wisconsin, and Ohio. And I have a reason. I'm going to show you why in just a little bit. Thank you for the super chat. Cool Blue. Keep it coming. So, it's just unbelievable. It's truly unbelievable. Oh, and let's see CNN. You know, because imagine if for a second, if the Des Moines Register poll just showed Joe Biden up 3 points. Imagine if CNN would sound like this if it was Joe Biden up by 3 points.
Iowa, which votes 3 weeks from tomorrow. And these new poll numbers underscore the high stakes way better than any adjective could. Take a look at these numbers. There's no real leader when you look at Iowa. It's a 4-way muddle at the top. Senator Sanders on top, Senator Warren, Mayor Buttigieg, former Vice President Biden, but all of this essentially within the polls' margin of error. This is a statistical tie in the competition for the first big win. The Iowa caucuses, Amy Klobuchar and Andrew Yang, round out the top 6 here. Let's take a look at how it's changed since our last poll. That was in November. Senator Sanders is up some. That is worth watching as you get closer to the vote. He clearly has some momentum. Pete Buttigieg down a bit. Everyone else essentially the same. Andrew Yang up a little bit. Elizabeth Warren up a little bit. That's margin of error stuff there, though. Senator Sanders, though, senses some momentum as we go forward. Here's something that helps Senator Sanders as you get in a close race to a caucus, a different organization. Nearly half of his supporters, 49%, say they're extremely enthusiastic about their choice. Energy and enthusiasm matter anyway, especially in a caucus setting. Only a third of Elizabeth Warren's voters say that. Mayor Buttigieg and the former vice president have a bit of a problem. Only a quarter of their voters say they're extremely enthusiastic, so they need to juice that up as you get closer to the caucuses. We've had 4 polls in Iowa in the last 7 months. Again, these aren't leaders really because it's been close, but there's been a different candidate on top. In each of those 4 polls, it tells you how much turmoil, how unsettled the race is. Biden, Warren, Buttigieg, now Sanders. Here's another way to look at that. The votes, again, are 3 weeks from tomorrow. 3 weeks from tomorrow. Only 4 in 10 Iowa Democrats say, I have made up my mind. 45% say they could change their mind. 13% say they still have no first choice. So it is wide open in Iowa, the first vote of 2020. Sanders, among all the candidates deciding, it's time to get more aggressive. Looking at my rivals, to Elizabeth Warren in a minute. Listen here, this has been consistent throughout the week. Bernie Sanders sees an opening to go after Joe Biden on an issue we heard a lot about against Hillary Clinton, the Iraq War.
Joe Biden voted and helped lead.
Oh boy. You know what's amazing to me? They say Bernie has a little bit of momentum, even though he's up several points, just a little bit of momentum. And Pete dipped a bit. He dipped a bit. Do you think dipping 9 points is a bit? 9 points is not a bit. 9 points down is a freaking free fall. But what I love is CNN, and by the way, I actually in this case agree. Even though Bernie's up by 3 points, it is margin of error. It is kind of a toss-up. I think the polls matter less than the organizing on the ground because it is a caucus. But I can tell you what, CNN would not be talking this way if it was Biden at 20%. CNN would not be talking this way if it was Elizabeth Warren up 3%. But because it's Bernie, it's all understated. It's all minimized. And CNN, as Bernie is in the lead, CNN is now having loser Clinton advisors on to make this ridiculous argument that Bernie Sanders hasn't actually been criticized or vetted. The land of make-believe continues. Let's take a look.
Heard it hasn't been, but I think there's real shades of 2016, and I'm going to get flamed on Twitter tonight for the next thing I'm going to say. But the media early on did not take Donald Trump seriously.
Yes.
So they didn't vet him. They didn't say, well, does your plan add up? And, what about your plan on Iran and getting out? What are you going to replace the Iran deal with? Nobody asked that. I think up until now, the media has not taken Bernie Sanders that seriously. And
he would say the same thing.
Yes, he would. He's complained and he's been right. But I do think that one of the things that will happen with this poll or with a victory in Iowa is we will begin to look at, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren Elizabeth Warren says, I have Bernie's plan.
Yeah.
She's been excoriated for her Medicare for All plan for the fact that it doesn't add up. Well, how can
He's admitted his...
But I do think getting out, what are you going to replace the Iran deal with? Nobody asked that. I think up until now, the media has not taken Bernie Sanders that seriously. And
he would say the same thing.
Yes, he would. He's complained and he's been right. But I do think that one of the things that will happen with this poll or with a victory in Iowa is we will begin to look at, Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren Elizabeth Warren says, I have Bernie's plan.
Yeah.
She's been excoriated for her Medicare for All plan for the fact that it doesn't add up. Well, how can
He's
her
admitted his... we're going to have to pay for it.
He's basically admitted, I don't know how we're going to pay for it. I'll just raise taxes.
Yep.
So I think there is a little bit of a reckoning. But, as someone told me yesterday, just like Trump, Sanders has a hard floor of supporters. It doesn't matter what he says. But he has a limited ceiling of supporters also. So once, if this narrows down further, when you get to a more diverse population, blacks, Hispanics, I think it's a little bit tougher. But even the latest poll yesterday on African Americans showed he was at 20%, which is way higher than he was.
Sorry, forgot to play the clip at first, but you saw it at the end. So what's amazing to me about that is factually, he's completely wrong. But because this is CNN, because facts don't matter. The facts don't matter. Number one, when he says Bernie Sanders Medicare for All plan, nobody's asked him how is he going to pay for it. Read it. He outlines how he's going to pay for it, and he's been very clear. Right now, if you work for a company, you have taxes taken out for Medicare. Even if you're not of age, you get a certain percentage of your paycheck Medicare taken out. That percentage is going to go up. So as a tax, it will go up. If you don't work, if you don't work for a company where your Medicare tax gets taken out, you will have your taxes will go up a little bit, but your copays go away, your premiums go away, your deductibles go away, all of that away. By the way, those things, premiums, copays, deductibles, they're all a tax. It's just called something different. So he has said how he's going to pay for it. They just don't want universal health care. They don't want government as a single payer because it will hurt the private health insurance industry, which CNN and MSNBC never disclose. A lot of the Clinton and Obama advisors and surrogates and zealots on their airwaves bashing Medicare for all, making claims that Bernie hasn't said he's going to pay for it, even though he has, work for companies involved with the private healthcare industry. Jim Messina, by the way, who just came out saying, oh, if I was Donald Trump's advisors, I'd be chomping at the bit to work, to face Bernie Sanders. He works for a company with links to the private health insurance industry. Same thing goes for Ben LaBolt, former advisor of Barack Obama, President Obama, who came out against Bernie Sanders. They're all have they're dipping their shoe in the private healthcare industry, and they don't disclose it. None of them disclose it. He also says this nonsense, and you hear it on MSNBC and CNN and in the pages of the New York Times. Bernie has a hard floor, but a limited ceiling. Well, if he has a limited ceiling, how did he just get 300,000 new donors? In addition to raising $34 million, which, let me tell you something, if that was Elizabeth Warren, who raised $34 million, she raised $21 million, $13 million more than Bernie Sanders. If Elizabeth Warren raised $13 million more than Bernie Sanders, if Elizabeth Warren had 300,000 new donors, they would be calling for Bernie Sanders to drop out. I'm not calling for Elizabeth Warren to drop out, but I'm pointing that would be the narrative. Oh, obviously Warren the torch has to be passed. Bernie has lost his mojo. Warren has surpassed him. She's raising record numbers. She's got 300,000 new donors. Bernie's got to go. They're not saying that when the shoe's on the other foot. So it's all absurd. And now I want to get to Joe Biden, frankly, borrowing his best Donald Trump toupee. Because Joe Biden is now, and his advisors, are now going around pretending that his record isn't his record. Pretending that he didn't actually vote for the Iraq War, or he voted for it, but he didn't really vote thinking they were going to go to war. This is what he has the former Secretary of State, John Kerry, going around the country saying. I mean, look at this from John Kerry from the No Malarkey bus in Iowa. You can't make this up, folks.
That after 18, Joe Biden still refuses to admit he was dead wrong in the Iraq War, the worst foreign policy blunder in modern American history. Given what you know about the region and how Iran was essentially empowered by that, why doesn't he just call it a mistake?
Well, I think, in fact, Margaret, I think that Bernie, regrettably, is distorting Joe's record in the following sense. I mean, he doesn't have what Joe Biden has, which is 8 years of sitting on the National Security Council and demonstrating his judgment, whether it was on his leadership dealing with the migration that was flowing across our border and helping to resolve that with the presidents of those countries, or his work pulling troops out of Iraq and negotiating that and working as perhaps the lead point man on that effort. I think that I know very well what Joe's position was, because I answered those questions back in 2002, 2003 and 4. And it was very clear that what we were doing was listening to a president who made a pledge that he was going to do diplomacy, that he was going to exhaust diplomacy, build a coalition. And ultimately, we learned, as Joe did and I did, that the intelligence was distorted. So Joe spoke out and criticized. Joe was against what they were doing. The vote was not a vote specifically to go to war. It was a vote for the president to have leverage with respect to getting Saddam Hussein back to the negotiating table, back to the inspections, excuse me. And I think we were let down, and Joe has said many times that it was a mistake, obviously, to trust the words of the administration who didn't follow through on what they said they were going to do. And I invite you to go back, read my speech on the floor and others.
John Kerry is just straight up lying. And frankly, I'm not a soldier. I don't have any family that was in the military. But if I was an Iraq war veteran, if I was the family of a soldier who died, if I was the family of a soldier who is alive but missing legs, missing limbs, PTSD, suicidal thoughts, has not been able to re-enter society in a mentally healthy way, I would be extremely outraged. Let me just, if people don't understand, here is HJ Resolution 114, 107th Congress, authorization for use of military force against Iraq, resolution of 2002. It doesn't say authorization for use of diplomatic negotiations. It says use of military force against Iraq. What in fucking God's name are these people talking about? Oh, and, you know, if you need a reminder, there's Joe Biden voting for it in the Senate. If you're so, let's say you're so naive that you actually buy the bullshit they're selling, that, yeah, he voted for it. He voted for it. And by the way, we got 750 people watching. We got 570 of you have pressed that like button. If we can get another 200 people that are watching, press that like button. It's a thumbs up button right under the video. Keep it coming in the super chat. Let's go. Let's get this to 1,000 viewers. So if you want to buy this bullshit that they're trying to sell, that, oh, Biden voted for it, but he didn't actually vote thinking or agreeing or authorizing George Bush to go to war. He was voting for it to give Bush and Cheney, who, Biden's no idiot. He was in the Senate for 20 years before that. He knew that George W. Bush was trying to make up for Papa Bush's Gulf War disaster. He knew that Dick Cheney was a epic warmonger who was pulling the strings of Bush's brain. He knew that Donald Rumsfeld and George Tenet and Paul Wolfowitz, he knew. Biden knew who was really running the show here. It wasn't George W. Bush. Thank you. Will Shields, $50 in the super chat. Really generous. Thank you, Will. Media misframing things, smearing, and straight lying is one influence on the election. Rigging, removing votes in polling places like in 2016, read election justice, is another thing not talked about. 2020 D primary will be rigged. Will, I always talk about the day-to-day rigging that goes on, and that's exactly what I'm showing you right now. The propaganda from the corporate media. Joe Biden, not only did he vote for the war, not to give George Bush another tool in the diplomatic toolbox to send boots on the ground. As Bernie Sanders' campaign is finally pointing out, I don't know what took him so long. Maybe they watched me because I showed you this clip last week. So finally, they're putting it out. This is from Bernie Sanders' campaign, David Sirota, his speechwriter. Joe Biden, if he was so duped, why was it that he was saying things like this 4 months after the war in Iraq started?
Some of my own party have said that it was a mistake to go to Iraq in the first place, and believe that it's not worth the cost, whatever benefit may flow from our engagement in Iraq. But the cost of not acting against Saddam, I think, would have been much greater. And so is the cost, and so will be the cost, of not finishing this job. The President of the United States is a bold leader, and he is popular. The stakes are high, and the need for leadership is great. I wish he'd use some of his stored-up popularity to make what I admit is not a very popular case. But I and many others will support him when he makes the case.
Okay. Well, since the CBS anchor isn't an actual journalist, let me tell you something. CBS has way more resources than little old Status Coup. You could help us out with those resources by signing up today as a Status Coup member for as low as $5 a month. Members get to join us on our monthly members call, which happens to be tomorrow night. Sign up today, statuscoup.com/join. Just 21 members away from 800. So, this is ridiculous. This is like Donald Trump claiming, oh, I saw thousands of Muslims on a rooftop cheering on 9/11. This is like Donald Trump saying he was against the Iraq War when he's on Howard Stern's show saying he's for the Iraq War. This is like Hillary Clinton saying, well, I have a public position and a private position. Honestly, if Joe Biden had any integrity, he'd say, I was wrong. I've learned from it. It was a disastrous decision, and I'll regret it for the rest of my life. It wouldn't bring any of the troops back. It wouldn't bring any of the Iraqis who have been slaughtered because of our reckless, immoral war. But at least he'd have a little moral integrity here. By the way, there's the link to join us as a member. But what's just appalling about the whole thing is John Kerry, who was Secretary of State, who was the Democratic nominee in 2004, is lying on behalf of Joe Biden. He didn't vote for the war because he had sat down and had tea with George Bush, and George Bush said, no, we're not going to send ground troops, but if you give me authorization, it will give me some leverage with Saddam to bring him back to the table. Joe Biden knew who he was dealing with. These were neocons. These were warmongers. These were people next to Bush who were trying to take out Hussein since the 1980s. And if he thought he was duped by George Bush, and he didn't actually think that George W. Bush was going to go to war, or his vote wasn't actually to give Bush the authority to send ground troops, then why was he 4 months later saying George Bush is a hell of a guy? George W. Bush is a popular leader. I support him. We need to finish the job. Bernie, I hope, Bernie, and we're going to get to his campaign, taking off the gloves, but Bernie, bring it on Tuesday night. Bring the receipts, Bernie. Wonderful graphic by our own Colin Tooley. So, I mean, this is all just bullshit, bullshit, bullshit. And the media just covers it up. By the way, I mean, totally unrelated to Iraq, but here's Joe Biden calling for Social Security cuts. Okay, boomers.
Senator, we have a deficit. We have Social Security and Medicare looming. The number of people on Social Security and Medicare is now 40 million people. It's going to be 80 million in 15 years. Would you consider looking at those programs, age of eligibility, absolutely, cost of living, put it all on the table?
The answer is absolutely. You have to. I mean, it's one of the things that my, the political advisors say to me is, whoa, don't touch that third. Look, the American people aren't stupid. It's a real simple proposition. We have to do, you and I were talking about Bob Dole earlier. I was one of 5 people, I was the junior guy, in the meeting with Bob Dole, George Mitchell, when we put Social Security in the right path for 60 years. I'll never forget what Bob Dole said. After we reached an agreement about gradually raising the retirement age, et cetera, he said, look, here's the deal. We all put our foot in the boat one at a time. And he kiddingly, he stepped like he was stepping into a boat. And we all make the following deal. If any one of the challengers running against incumbent Democrat or Republicans attacks us on this point, we'll all stay together. That's the kind of leadership that is needed. Social Security is not the hard.
Yeah, that's definitely the type of leadership needed. I want a leader who pledges to stand on the leaking boat together with that radical, extremist Republican Bob Dole. I need a leader of the Democratic Party who pledges to stand with Bob Dole. And by the way, I didn't mention didn't mention. Joe Biden, and for you status quo OGers who have been watching us now for a year and a half, you know, because I reported on this, Joe Biden was so duped. Joe Biden was so duped. Actually, let me see if I can find it. Joe Biden was so duped by George W. Bush, he so regrets it, that he gave George W. Bush, a Patriot Award. No. Not The Onion. Let's take a look, shall we? I found it.
Please welcome Vice President.
Unlike any, the presentation of the Liberty Medal is a critical reminder that neither Republicans nor Democrats hold them. Africa was threatening to wipe out an entire generation of leadership, as well as an entire generation. But President Bush, you believed with American leadership, we could turn that tide. So you put real political muscle and resources into making sure PEPFAR would be effective. And I was proud to play a small role as chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee to twice see it authorized and make sure it was funded. Today, there are 14 million people receiving life-saving HIV treatment who otherwise would not have it. That's the duty of patriots. That's the duty of patriots. And as a team, Laura, you and the President continue to take on big challenges in your post-White House years through your work at the George W. Bush Institute. And tonight, we recognize the impact you've made through your enduring commitment to support.
Yeah. There it is, if you want it. So, you know, Joe Biden putting his foot in the leaking boat with Bob Dole. Joe Biden handing out Patriot Awards to a war criminal. Those were protesters in the background, by the way. Joe Biden saying, "Yeah, I'll consider a Republican as my vice president." I tweeted maybe he'll bring Paul Ryan out of retirement, because you know he praised Paul Ryan. If you remember that, he praised Paul Ryan for being right about wanting to cut Social Security. And welcome to the party. We have a new status quo member, Michael. Michael, new status quo member. So we're at 780 members. I'm hoping we get 20 more today to hit that 800 number. So Michael, thanks for getting us started. You can become a member for as low as $5 a month. So I've established what's going on here. There's the link, by the way, if you want to be a member. Ooh, put the wrong link in. Hold on. There's the link, statusquo.com/join. So I've established that Joe Biden is an absolute train wreck. And now, finally, maybe Bernie's been watching. Bernie is taking the gloves off. Let's start with this.
About the need to cut Social Security. Look, Joe and I are friends, and I truly like Joe. But what is imperative is that we defeat Trump, the most dangerous president in modern history. And that means you're going to have a huge voter turnout. You're going to have to get working people excited. You're going to have to get young people excited. Joe Biden voted and helped lead the effort for the war in Iraq, the most dangerous foreign policy blunder in the modern history of this country. Joe Biden voted for the disastrous trade agreements like NAFTA and permanent normal trade relations with China, which cost us millions of jobs. You think that's going to play well in Michigan or Wisconsin or Pennsylvania? You know, Joe Biden has been on the floor of the Senate talking about the need to cut Social Security or Medicare or Medicaid. Joe Biden pushed a bankruptcy bill, which has caused enormous financial problems for working families. So if we're going to beat Trump, we need turnout. And to get turnout, you need energy and excitement. And I just don't think that kind of record is going to bring forth the energy that we need to defeat Trump.
Bernie! Bernie! Taking the gloves off! Bernie Sanders. Going for the KO. You also have Bernie's campaign with, Trump's outrageous assassination of Iranian commander Soleimani. Bernie's campaign is calling out Biden for lying about his Iraq war record. Jeff Weaver, senior advisor, quote, "It is appalling that after 18 years of Joe Biden still refuses to admit he was dead wrong on the Iraq war, the worst foreign policy blunder in modern American history," Jeff Weaver, senior advisor of the campaign, said. Unlike 23 of his Senate colleagues who got it right, Biden made explicitly clear that he was voting for war, and even after the war started, he boasted that he didn't regret it. So, and this is in response to Kerry going around the country lying about Joe Biden's war record. You also have the great Nina Turner. This is an op-ed she wrote in an influential South Carolina paper. It's called The State. Headline: While Bernie Sanders has always stood up for African Americans, Joe Biden has repeatedly let us down. Let me throw that in the chat for those of you who want to read it. You have Bernie Sanders' press secretary, Brianna Joy Gray. "I wish the media political figures were as concerned about how Joe Biden's bad judgment has hurt black people as they are about the horse race. If they cover the substance of the article, they'd have to admit that the critique is true. Trump won't hesitate to talk about it." And she's referencing Nina Turner's story. So, in my view, Bernie Sanders' campaign has learned from its mistakes in 2016. If you want to play nice, go get a dog. If you want to be friends with Joe Biden or Hillary Clinton, go get a dog. You are in a knife fight for the presidency. If you're the Bernie Sanders campaign, you are up against you're not talking about just the corporate media. You're not just talking about the entire Democratic Party. You're not just talking about all of the think tanks. You're talking about the whole damn world, the global capitalist elite. That's what you're up against if you are a credible progressive challenger for the American presidency. I wish you would stop saying, "Listen, Joe Biden's a friend of mine." To hell with that. And to tell you the truth, I'm not a campaign advisor, but I'm happy to see David Sirota put out the clip that I reported on last week. I don't know if they saw it here. I won't take credit for it. But what's unbelievable to me, I need Bernie Sanders. If I'm Bernie Sanders' campaign manager, if I'm Bernie Sanders' advisors, you need to start going after him on his phony middle-class Joe when it comes to the labor unions. One of Biden's biggest strengths, one of the reasons that he has working class support, is because he has been labeled this friend of unions. He is not a friend of unions. Put aside NAFTA for a second, which he voted for. Put aside that he was pushing Hillary Clinton to support the TPP as the Democratic nominee. Put that aside for a second. Got 800 people watching right now. Remember to press that like button and press the share button. Share this all over the place. Twitter, Facebook, all of that. Joe Biden is taking money from companies that bash unions. Joe Biden has lobbyists who are fundraising tens of thousands of dollars for his campaigns that are union busters. Joe Biden did one of his first fundraisers was with Comcast, a union buster. I think Bernie Sanders not only needs to talk about the votes that Joe Biden has taken. Who you are is who you surround yourself with. Joe Biden is taking money with a who's who from Wall Street, from the healthcare industry, from big real estate, from Silicon Valley, that are major union busters. Let him defend it on stage during that debate. Let him explain, why are you doing fundraisers with Comcast, who has a history of bashing unions? Did I read your super chat about NBC News? Did I miss a super chat? Refi, $1.99. Please Google whistleblower Tarif Simon. Okay, I'll get on it. Did I miss another one? Artificial Morphison, $5. Saturday, NBC Weekend News reported Biden is in the lead with black voters from the same poll that showed Bernie #1 overall nationally, but no mention of that. I didn't see that. Can you email that to me? info@statuscoup.com. Email info@statuscoup.com. I didn't see that segment. So, you got Joe Biden here, who's a lot of his support comes because people think he is pro-union. He's not pro-union. I report on his fundraisers all the time. He's taking money from lobbyists. He's taking money from Wall Street executives. He's taking money from fossil fuel executives. He's taking money from major people from the defense industry. He's taking money from companies that bash unions, that bust unions, that try to weaken unions. And by the way, he's taking money from financial lawyers who represent companies that don't want to collectively bargain. They defend in court. Skadden Arps. I just did a report on his fundraiser with Skadden Arps, which is a massive lobbying firm, legal firm, that represented DuPont, that represented Pfizer, that represented JP Morgan, Bank of America. They also represent banks. They also represent corporations in avoiding avoiding having to pay union dues, health benefits, and things like that. So it's great that Bernie is finally hitting him hard on Iraq, bankruptcy bill. I'd like to see him bring up the fact that Joe Biden voted to repeal Glass-Steagall, which is why we had the 2008 financial crash. I'd like to see him mention that Joe Biden led the charge in the Senate to deregulate derivatives, which also led to the financial crash. Joe Biden, as vice president, went around Barack Obama and agreed to a deal with Mitch McConnell to extend the Bush tax cuts. This was in 2011 or 12. And Joe Biden is funding his campaign by a who's who of the corporate elite, many of whom are no friend of labor unions. Joe Biden, I understand there's a fine line and you don't want to go too hard where it alienates some of Joe Biden's voters and the corporate media is going to say, oh, Bernie's not being nice. Oh, Bernie's playing negative. But it's now or never. You need to sow those seeds of doubt and you need to inform a lot of these people making $50,000 or less or only having high school degrees. A lot of Biden support makes $50,000 or less or only has high school degrees. You need to get in their minds and inform them, there's a lot you don't know about this guy. There's a lot you don't know about this guy. So, I hope we're just seeing the tip of the iceberg. I hope this is the beginning. All right. We're about hour and a half into this live chat. I also wanted to today play an interview for you. I know nobody likes to be upset, but this is the kind of stuff you will never see in corporate media, what I'm about to play you. When I was in South Bend, Indiana, a lot of what I found was he's now former mayor. He's not the mayor anymore. And some of you might say, Jordan, why are you still focusing on Buttigieg? To me, it's not about whether he's still actively in position to win the Iowa caucus or New Hampshire or win the nomination. As of now, he's within the margin of error in that poll in Iowa, so he still could potentially win the Iowa caucus. But to me, I want to play this because I want to show you this is the kind of man that the corporate media propped up. This is the kind of man that the corporate media did not do the reporting that I've done and very few other outlets have done. I heard disturbing things when I was in South Bend about corruption in the South Bend Police Department, about corruption in Pete Buttigieg's administration, Pete Buttigieg covering up misdeeds and problems with his police department. And then I was told of an incident where a young black man allegedly killed himself. The following interview is pretty disturbing. I'm not going to lie to you. If you don't want to be depressed or enraged, I would turn it off. But I think it's important to play this. I'm not going to set it up. You'll understand it when you watch. I hope when you watch this interview, if you've been on the fence, the 800 people watching right now, it'll get you off the fence to sign up as a Status Coup member. This is the kind of reporting we could do. We just need the funding to go out in the country. It's not cheap. So this was my interview with a grieving mother whose son supposedly killed himself in South Bend. And when she approached the South Bend Police Department, and by the way, I have multiple sources that tell me Pete Buttigieg is well aware of this incident and did nothing. Here's my interview with Shalonda Witherspoon. Hey, it's Jordan. I'm here at a local school in South Bend, Indiana, and I'm here with Shalonda. And unfortunately, July was it?
July 21st.
July 21st of this year, your son died. I'm going to let you explain it because it doesn't add up to me.
I know. July 21st, I got a phone call approximately at 3-something.
Afternoon, morning?
3-something in the morning, stating that from a young lady that he was there with, I think Will shot himself. And I'm like, what? Which I knew it wasn't true. I was like, well, just call the ambulance, get him to the hospital right now.
Your son's name was Will?
Will, yes. And she was like, I already did. And I was like, okay, so me and my other better half, he took me right over there. When we got there, it was 2 ambulances there, and they didn't have anything taped off. They had a police officer standing at the doorway to where I couldn't get up. I said, I just want to see my son. So when my fiance asked, is he still alive? The one officer said, yeah, he's okay. He did me like this, he's okay. But another officer came back and shook his head and said no. I called his godmother. His godmother came over and peeled me up off the pavement. He picked me up off the pavement. It don't add up because I know my son didn't kill himself. I know he didn't. It's a lot of questions. My son was left-handed. He got shot on the right side. His hand was fractured. I have documentation from the doctor that his hand was fractured. He couldn't squeeze a ball.
I'm sorry, I want to move backwards for a second just so people understand the process. So normally if a loved one that was deceased, the mother, father would get to see them,
I was not able to identify my son's body. They told me no.
What reason did they give you for not being able to identify his body?
They did not give me a reason at all.
And they said that he killed himself with a gun.
That's what they said.
And your son was 23, to your knowledge. He was working. He wasn't depressed that you know of?
No, he was not. My son was not depressed. He was working at Linden Grill. He has a 2-year-old son here, and he has brothers, he had family that loved him. He was a very outgoing young man. I can show you a video of him just dancing and laughing all the time. You know.
And he had a child on the way.
He has a matter of fact, it's a little girl, and he called me that day before he got back here to South Bend, And he told me, Mom, I know it's a girl. And they were selfish. They were selfish.
You know,
They were selfish. They took my baby. They took my son. Why?
when you say they, who do you mean?
Whoever killed him. Because I know he didn't kill himself. I know he didn't. And it's been very hard, especially with the holidays coming up. It's been very hard. It's only been 4 months. It's not right. I just want to know the truth. And they're not giving me the answers that they need to give me. It's a lot of things that's not adding up.
Another really thing that doesn't make sense to me, and I feel like this would be in some type of movie. I was told that once your son was in the funeral home, that officials came to touch his body or do something.
They did not get my permission to even touch my son. And true enough, I was...
Can you tell the audience what happened specifically? Why did they come to the funeral home?
I don't really know. I was just only know what I was told. They came to the funeral home to remove the bullet from my son's head.
They do that in an autopsy per se?
They would have done that in an autopsy if they would have gave me an autopsy, like I asked them to give me an autopsy, and they refused me an autopsy, telling me that, oh, it's going to cost too much money. Well, you don't know how much money I have. You don't know if I could have paid for it or not. But from what I've read, and I've been reading, and from what I know, they violated my rights. They did not let me see my son. They did not give my son an autopsy. They didn't do any of that. But why? And why?
Was this the South Bend coroner or the St. Joseph County? Do you know?
Joseph County coroner.
Was your son in a South Bend hospital?
They didn't take him to the hospital. They didn't take him to the hospital. They didn't let me see him. They didn't let me do any of that. And I asked them to take him to the hospital. So how do they just pronounce someone dead? And I wasn't even able to identify my son. I wasn't able to identify him.
So where you were picked off the pavement, where they wouldn't allow you to go upstairs, that wasn't a hospital? That was the funeral home?
No, that was the apartment complex.
Oh, I see.
That wasn't the hospital. That wasn't the funeral home. It was the apartment complex.
So they don't have you come to identify him. They don't do an autopsy. Now, who came to the funeral home to take out the bullet? Was that forensic people, or?
I heard it was a detective in the coroner or the medical examiner. I'm really not for sure because I was out of it. I really can't tell you who did it. Malone knows who did it. You know, I don't know.
And did you take any steps to contact the police department or the mayor, Pete Buttigieg?
At that particular point in time, I did take a step to contact homicide. I went down and I spoke with Detective Alex. They gave me the runaround like I knew they would.
Was it South Bend Police?
It was South Bend Homicide, yeah, Metro Homicide Unit. We went down there to talk to him. And they didn't. We have text messages. I have his phone. His phone, that was a brand new phone that my son had, a brand new iPhone. And he had to use hotspot to get on it to call me. That was a brand new phone. They tore that phone to pieces. They took the guts out of the phone. That phone was an iPhone. They took the guts out of the phone. But they didn't.
What reason? Why did they do that?
I don't know why they done that. Maybe it was something in it that they didn't want nobody to see. Maybe, I don't know.
What did they, you said they didn't take out one thing?
Yeah, they didn't take out one thing.
What was that one?
The SIM card. Yeah, the SIM card.
You have that?
I do.
Reveal anything to you?
I haven't looked at it. I haven't been able to look at it. I haven't been able to really, it just makes my heart sink even more. Makes me nervous, makes me sick to my stomach. Because I know, a mother knows their child. A mother knows what their child will and won't do. And I know with my child, he didn't commit no suicide. He was too full of life.
And it also sounds like you two were close, so if he was having dark thoughts at some point.
If he was, he would have talked to me about it. He did have seizures. He really did. But nothing of such of a matter to where he would want to take his own life. Nobody in the world will, and everybody that knows me and knows my children, nobody in the world will ever, they do not believe it. They said it's impossible. I know it's impossible because my son is left-handed. He's not right-handed. He couldn't use his right hand. I have documentation from the doctor. So somewhere, somehow, somebody knows the truth, and I want the truth.
So what you're saying is he was left-handed and a shot was on his right side and his right hand was fractured, is that correct?
And had 3 fractures in it where he couldn't squeeze a ball.
That's before the shooting.
This is before the shooting.
So basically what they're saying is he would have to have done that or something?
Basically, that's what they're saying. Impossible. It's impossible. But you know what? I'm a firm believer in God. And my faith is very, very strong. And I know God is going to bring everything to light. Everything and everybody that had a hand in it is going to come. God is going to bring them to the light. So as they say, what you do in the dark comes to the light. It's the truth. What you do in the dark is going to come to the light. They stole something from me, a big part of me, a big piece of me. They took a big piece of my life when they took my son from me. His brothers are going through something terrible. A lot of people that loved him, his sisters, he's not going to be able to see his baby born. He's not going to be able to see his son. It's unfair. It's not fair. They just took my baby away from me. And nobody will give me no answers. But I'm going to get answers. I'm going to get some answers. Nobody will tell me what happened to my son, and I just want to know. And I know my baby didn't commit suicide. I know he didn't. They don't realize how bad it is, how hard it is, how tough it is. Just for me to get up out the bed every morning. If it wasn't for God, I would still be, I don't know where I would be if it wasn't for God, honestly. Honestly. It hurts every time I talk about it. Every time, because I lost a big piece of me.
And as painful as it is to lose your child, I assume it's even worse to have no answers or closure.
It is. I have no closure yet. But I will have closure, because God's going to make sure I have closure.
Did you contacted the South Bend Police Department, homicide. Did you contact City Hall, the mayor's office?
No, I didn't. I'm going to be honest with you, I didn't think that far. Because I'm going to be honest with you, I feel like they don't care. It's just another person going to them.
So you see the mayor running for president. Does he care about things like this? Does he know about this? What I mean, his police department obviously knows about it.
The Mishawaka Police Department knows about it. South Bend Metro Homicide knows about it. So if they know about it, I'm pretty sure he knows about it. Has he tried to do anything about it? I don't know, because I haven't got a chance to talk to him. He's too busy trying to do his little campaign and thing for president. Nothing against him, because I never met the man. But at least reach out to the families that reach out to the families that have lost a loved one in murder with these guns. Reach out to them. Just, you're doing all this. I don't know. Like I said, I don't uphold, if that's what he want to do, that's what he want to do. But you need to be more active and more involved in what's going on in your city, and you're the mayor. And you're not.
And it also sounds like his police department violated multiple rights you have. You have a right to identify your child.
I have a right to Mishawaka Police Department. I had a right to identify my son's body. They denied me that right. They didn't I don't even know if they took my son to the hospital. I don't know. I can't even begin to tell you where they took my child. Next thing I know, the next morning, I was getting a call from Palmer's wanting me to, we're going to go ahead and embalm. My sister said, no. No, you're not. We're going to have somebody else come and get him. So that's what they did. So that's what I did. I had somebody else come pick him up.
And no autopsy. Have you asked for other documents or anything related to this?
I have asked for other documents. I actually have to go and pick them up Monday. I have. So we'll just see if I have them all. There's a lot of things. There's a lot of text messages that don't add up. That's all I can say.
And without, we're not going to name names, but I assume if you don't think he killed himself, you might feel that there might be some people who did harm to him.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do. I do. Nobody's going to change my mind about that. Nobody. I don't care who it is. I'm going to stand firm on what I believe.
And what's really concerning to me, I've been here a few days, you're not the only mother that's spending her first holiday without a child, whether it was the South Bend police shooting them or other violence. And there's been seemingly systemic cover-ups in the police department, lack of transparency.
It's sad. It's sad. I mean, our police departments are supposed to protect and serve us. Not all of them are bad. I can't tell you that. I can't sit here and lie and say that they are, And I'm pretty sure it's very stressful for them as well it is, but not being able for my son to walk in the door and say, Merry Christmas, Mom, or hey, lady, it's going to be hard. It's rough. It's very hard. It's very hard. I try not to think about it, but when I think about it, I just cry. When I go visit him, I just cry. It's hard.
And What would be your message? I mean, he's still the mayor until January. If Mayor Buttigieg was watching, what would be your message? Because, I mean, he was trying to be president, but it seems like your son's case is not an anomaly.
Reach out to the parents that have lost their child this year. I'm not saying come, oh, well, I'm so sorry. I'm not saying come do that. But at least have a little concern. Even if you're not concerned, act like you're concerned. But good luck to him and good luck to his presidential, whatever he's campaigning or whatever he's doing. Good luck to him. Reach out. It was all in. My cousin got killed at Kelly's Pub. On Brandon Williams. I know Malone told you about him. And then my son got killed. He got killed in June. My son and Chris, they were all three cousins, got killed. Chris and William got killed on the same night, on the same day, July 21st. All three cousins.
Tell me about your son. What was it like?
He was feisty. He was a little rough, you know. But he worked at Linden Grill. He was getting himself together. William worked at Linden Grill. William was full of life. He would make you laugh. You know, growing up, he loved animals. You know, growing up with him, he had a personality. Trust me, he had a personality. He had a personality. He was very smart. He could fix things. I remember one time my dryer broke and I didn't know. I had to go buy the piece, and he said, "Mom, I know what to do." He was about maybe 12, and he fixed my dryer. He put the little piece on there, and I didn't even know how to do it. But William was full of life. He loved family. He loved family time. He loved to be around his family. He loved to be around his sisters. He loved to be around his brothers. He loved to be around family, period. He loved to be around, he was a daddy's boy, so he liked to be around his dad, and he liked to be around his aunties and uncles, you know what I'm saying? And, he was just full of life, And they took that from us.
How's his 2-year-old doing right now?
His 2-year-old's doing good. He always says, "Nana's, Daddy's up there." I was like, yes, he is. Yes, he is. And the newborn should be here any day now. We're just waiting. She's actually due on the January 15th. But we think she's going to go in early. So, but the 2-year-old is doing very good. He's full of life and just laughs all the time, He's so much like his dad. He got a lot of ways like his dad. And we have to explain to him. That's something we have to explain to him about him losing his dad too. They were so selfish. They were selfish. Whoever did it was selfish.
Why do you think the police would cover it up? Sounds like they did.
Something's not adding up. Some mistakes have been made. Some things have been not done correctly. My rights have been violated. Something is not adding up. Only thing I want is the truth. I want the truth. That's all I want. Give me the truth. I'll take the truth over anything.
We'll stay in touch with you. Thank you.
Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you. Sorry, forgot to unmute my mic. That was an interview with Shalonda Witherspoon, who the official line was her son William killed himself. I don't believe that. I don't think anyone with a brain would believe that. You know, you don't have a mother identify her child. You quickly want to embalm the body without permission of the family. You have an official come and remove a bullet from his head while he's in rest in the funeral home. You have medical proof that his right hand was fractured and he's left-handed, but the bullet entered this side, so he's left-handed. Can't use his right hand. So you'd have to believe we're talking about the entry. The entry wound was here. Can you shoot yourself that way? I guess. And what was striking to me about this is, obviously Pete Buttigieg did not spark the crime. He's not responsible for the crime. But this is not an isolated incident. This wonderful woman's pain and story is one of many in South Bend. That while he was mayor, Pete Buttigieg, not only did he ignore, but he helped his white police chief and white officers sweep under the rug. That's not coming from me. That's coming from at least 15 to 20 black residents and activists I spoke to in 3 or 4 days. In addition to elected officials I spoke to. So when people say to me, Jordan, why are you, get off Pete? He's not going to win. This is not about the campaign at this point. This is about neoliberalism. This is about a corporate media that is essentially glorified public relations for people like Pete Buttigieg. People who gentrify cities, which is essentially a form of ethnically cleansing of poor black people, and nowadays poor white people too. You're the mayor, and this was right here. This was covered, this story. It's not like he didn't know about it. It's right here. Homicide detective reviewing Mishawaka death after family dispute suicide ruling. And by the way, you might be wondering, what does that mean, Mishawaka? Mishawaka is right next to South Bend, but it's the South Bend. It's basically where William was found dead and declared a suicide, was like on the border of South Bend and Mishawaka, but it's the South Bend homicide unit that investigates these kinds of cases. So it's underneath Pete Buttigieg's jurisdiction, his police department. So how is it that his police department, guy doesn't go to the hospital? He wasn't declared dead right there. That's what I was told. Mother can't identify him. You want to quickly embalm the body. You have people from the coroner's office coming to the funeral home to remove a bullet from his head. You have multiple things that are not normal He's the mayor. He knew about it. This happened in July. You know what else happened in July? Eric Logan, a 54-year-old black man, was shot and killed by a white police sergeant in South Bend who was not wearing his body camera. Did not have it on. He didn't have it on. And the two officers that came next to the scene didn't turn on their body camera. It's awful. And the truth is, I'm just going to be flat out with you. This is not an attempt for me to get you to sign up as a member. This is just the truth. I really wish I had time to thoroughly investigate these types of stories. I really do. I wish I could spend a full 2 or 3 days just working on this one story, but I can't. We don't have the staff. We don't have the resources. I got to do live streams. I'm working on another major story, campaign coverage, behind the scenes business things that I don't want to bore you with that I have to do. I wish we had more. I wish I could have a producer, research help, another reporter. I wish. That's why we're trying to grow this. And by the way, the only reason I got this story is because you guys are funding us. So we have to pick and choose where we go. We can't afford to be out in the field all the time, but we pick and choose our stories based on what we think is super important to cover. And because you guys are funding us, we're now at 780 members. I'm able to tell that mother's story, and I'm not going to stop. By the way, there's a little more details that I'll talk about tomorrow night on the members call. If you're a member, you'll get to hear about that. Statuscoup.com/join to join Jen and I tomorrow. But these kinds of stories are happening all over the United Corporations of America. Police cover-ups, and whether it's poor black people, poor white people, poor Latinos, indigenous, whatever, there's heinous things being done that are not covered by our media. And they're not covered because the media is built and funded by multi-billion-dollar corporate conglomerates, and it's not in their business interest to rock the boat. Because if South Bend Tribune really investigates this, if they really get their hands dirty, if they start putting in freedom of information requests, which I did, they might lose access to then Mayor Buttigieg. They might lose access to their police department sources. That's why Status Coup is not built based on access. I don't give a flying fuck if I have access to Joe Biden or Pete Buttigieg or Elizabeth Warren or frankly Bernie Sanders. I'd love an interview with him, but I'm not going to not cover him critically if it's necessary. So I wish I could look into this more. I'm going to try. I have a follow-up conversation I need to have. It's my understanding that activists on the ground there are trying to get Shalonda an attorney. They are trying to get more documents. But if it smells like a cover-up, if it quacks like a cover-up, it's a cover-up. And I truly believe a mother does know her child. Mental health is unpredictable, but this does not sound like somebody who was in a crisis situation mentally. So I'll follow this up as best as I can, and I hope you guys appreciate that story. And I'm still in contact with some of the activists on the ground there, as well as the mother. So, and we will post this tomorrow. So if you want to watch it back, if you want to share it, we will post it. Shocker, Pete Buttigieg's campaign did not respond to us with anything having to do with this suicide. So, we still got 600 people watching. Want to remind you, we are actively trying to grow. So if you're not a member, consider signing up today, statuscoup.com/join. I'm going to pivot slightly to another interview I just did with an Elizabeth Warren supporter. And for those of you who have already seen it, my apologies. For those of you who haven't, I think this Elizabeth Warren supporter is very, very symbolic of a lot of voters, not only for Warren, but for Biden and Buttigieg. And, you know, I try to challenge these folks in a way that is respectful, but also, you know, challenge them. I also try to do it in a way that's not necessarily trying to make Bernie's case, because I'm a journalist. I'm not there to elect Bernie Sanders, but to basically challenge these notions that are never challenged in their mind. And I think this quiet contentment with corruption is the problem in this country. I think this among voters, mostly voters 45 and up, not all voters 45 and up, because we have a lot of older viewers, and Bernie obviously has a lot of older supporters. That's just, they've been conditioned. Yeah, politicians, you know, they make decisions based on donors, and that's just the way it is. It's never going to change. And that conditioning is why we can't have nice things, basically. And that conditioning that is conditioned into voters like the one I'm about to show you is helped. It sinks into their brain because of the media ignoring corruption and nobody challenging the politicians on their own corruption. I'm going to play you this interview. We'll talk about it on the flip side. Remember, support us. statuscoup.com/join.
Hey, it's Jordan with Status Coup. I think we're like 20 minutes from showtime here. I'm with Steve. What brings you here? You got 30 days till, less than 30 days actually, till Iowa. Are you sold, not sold? What do you want to hear?
Liz is a very strong candidate. I like a lot of what she says. There are certain things I'm not crazy about, but for the most part, I like her. She's in charge. She's tough, and she's tough as nails as far as I'm concerned.
And I assume that's important to you to take on this monster in the White House?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the boy's got to go. Yeah. I emphasize the word boy.
Let's start with what you're not so big on with Warren. What are your concerns?
I am concerned about how some of these things are going to get paid for, because I haven't heard about that yet. And that's a concern. I'm concerned about, for example, I know how I feel. I spoke to people like, for example, my sister. Very liberal, also very wealthy. And they're retired and they're worried. She's worried about, they don't want to hit their, they've worked very hard for their whole lives. They don't want to hit that. I don't have that fear.
Or taxes, you mean?
Yeah. Now, I believe in universal health care. I think it's a good thing. I believe I've seen it work in Europe. We had an experience in Europe. It was our health care, the health care we received in France after an emergency was far greater than anything I've ever seen in the United States.
Well, I think actually Warren, the media is kind of giving her a pass a little bit, but she says she has a plan for everything, but she's had like 3 plans on healthcare. First, she said, I'm with Bernie. Then I'm going to do a public option within 100 days, which, let me tell you something. I cover politics. You're not going to get a public option in within 100 days.
Yeah, unless FDR is resurrected, that's not happening. But I like the ideas. I like the energy. I like the ideas. I like ideas. I like strategy, as opposed to just this seat of the pants, fly by night, whatever happens.
Trump or Bernie?
No, Trump, of course. I mean, whoever the local, the latest, whatever Hannity told him, or whatever the local, Facebook post was, or whatever he looks at. I mean, it's out of control, and I like the idea that she's in charge. I've been touting her for years. When I said years ago, I wish she would have ran 4 years ago, personally.
A lot of people did. Do you have any concerns over? It seems that during her Senate election, she was, doing those big fundraisers, the usual ones. Well, there's a big movement against the toxic effects of money in politics. Politicians get bought off.
Guess what? It's part of, live with it.
Well, that's why there's all these young people getting involved. They don't agree with you. They think it's poisoning the system.
Yes. when it comes down to it, it's still going to be there. Okay, it's still.
Does it have to be? You see, Bernie raised $34 million, no big dollar donors.
You know, once upon a time, and I'm old enough to remember when all the candidates were chosen in a smoke room, and all the primaries meant nothing. They were all popularity shows. I remember that time.
It's funny you said that. The Democratic Party's, the DNC's lawyer, they had a lawsuit, said, yeah, if we want to pick the candidate, we could do it in back smoke-filled rooms.
Once upon a time, that was the way everything happened. Was it better then? Was it worse now? I don't know. You know, something, what we've gotten out of it, well, look what we've got. You know, it started with McGovern in '72, and all of a sudden the primary started meaning something. And what has happened in the quality of the candidates over the last 30 years?
Look, I guess what I'm getting at is the younger generation, because I interview a lot of young people, they don't view it, they think older people have gotten kind of just like, you know, content with that corruption where people take the money, and obviously these big donors aren't giving money out of kindness. They want something.
People are also concerned that Amy Klobuchar is mean to her staff. Now, come on, give me a break. I had this argument with my daughter, who's a delightful and bright and everything, and she said, yes, she's mean to her staff. Well, hello, enough with the participation trophies and enough with, you know, and the safe spaces. This is politics. It's tough. It's difficult. You need a strong person who has a strong stomach, someone who has a strong, thick skin, and somebody who's tough as nails and isn't going to back down. I like Liz for that reason. She's not going to back down.
You don't think she backed down on health care? Because obviously she had a lot of people. Well, she was for Medicare for all for Bernie's plan, and then she was getting a lot of heat from cable news, that kind of thing, and she softened her plan.
Soften her plan, okay, but fine, but something has to work and something has to not work. It has to be practical also.
That's what I'm getting at. You don't think universal health care in Bernie's fashion is practical, even though most countries do it that way?
I believe it can work. I believe it's a little radical for the United States to suddenly, it might have to come more gradually. I have no problem with universal health care. I have a feeling there's a lot of people who do. Who don't understand it.
That's what Democrats have been saying for 30 years. We got to do it more gradually, more gradually, more gradually.
How about 100 years? How about it goes back to the Wilson?
That's my point. You always hear eat your broccoli. Things have to happen slowly, and then nothing happens.
Administration was a conservative administration wanted universal health care, but after World War II, they scrapped that quickly. Okay.
But that's my point. We keep hearing, well, things move slowly, incrementalism. Then we keep having the same discussions.
I understand that, but it's also what can happen. You still have a Congress, you have a Senate, you have a country, you have conservatives, you have a South, you have all sorts of different people have to be assuaged, and you have to deal with them. I think it's very wrong to just dismiss, for example, all Trumpies as complete idiots. They're not.
I agree.
They're not. There are many who are not.
I'm just telling you, some polls show 50% of Republicans were for Medicare for all.
I'm sure there are. I'm sure they are when you realize it. As I said, we had to experience ourselves. It was a very serious thing, and I couldn't get over the treatment.
Life-threatening in France, I hope. Was it life-threatening in France?
Well, she had a hip replacement. Okay. Had a hip went out, and we had to get emergency care. And the care we received was incredible in France. Now, we have French relatives and friends who are, they complain about the taxes. The taxes are high, but you know something? What does health care cost?
Private health insurance costs went up 20% in 2019.
It did. Of course it did. Absolutely it did. So we have it anyway. So it's just 6 of one, half a dozen of another. But you got to have to convince people of that. And it's not going to happen overnight.
Do you think it's realistic?
Once upon a time, there were congressmen railing about the end of the world that was coming about because of a thing called Social Security. I'm a historian. I'm a history teacher.
Well,
I know this.
I know. That's why you sound like a Bernie guy, though, to me, because you're saying a lot of things that kind of fall in the Bernie thing.
Practical guy. I'm not a far left. I am definitely not far left, but I'm certainly not centrist either.
So let's talk about.
I'm a registered independent. I have been my entire life. I have never belonged to a political party. There was a time I said the Democratic Party was going too far to the left. And the Republicans went too far to the right. I don't want the extremists holding.
Can I ask you just on the practicality point? Because I read her plan a few times. She's basing how you pay for it. You mentioned that on passing comprehensive immigration reform and cutting the defense budget, which people say Bernie's kind of in the sky. These are two things that haven't been done in a long, long time. And also she's talking about basically radically changing the healthcare system, and twice in 3 years. First the public option, then year 3 after the midterms. We're going to.
I don't have a problem with that. If
is that realistic? You're talking about practicality.
It's realistic. I don't know, because as I said, we have a whole country to assuage. You know, unfortunately, this country has this tradition, this history of the rugged individualism. You know, going back to the pioneers and to colonial times. Nobody tells Americans what to do.
And lastly, obviously, we got a maniac in the White House. We're taking out foreign leaders.
The important thing is this boy's got to be gone. He's got to be gone.
Let me ask you on that.
Listen, the last election, the far left, the kids you talk about, they all said, "Oh, Bernie didn't win. We're taking our ball and going home."
Incorrect.
Well, too many.
Do you know that more Hillary Clinton voters? More Bernie voters voted for Hillary than Clinton voters voted for Obama.
And how many voted for Jill Stein?
Mathematically, it didn't make a difference. Even if all those Jill Stein, no, I'm telling you, if all those Jill Stein votes went to Hillary Clinton, she still would have lost those 3 states.
If people had come out to vote in Philadelphia, Milwaukee, and Detroit, 3 cities, Barack Obama was not on the ballot. People were not inspired. Maybe Hillary Clinton didn't inspire people. But those 3 cities, 50,000 votes in those 3 cities, and that loser wouldn't be there right now.
Whose fault is that, Hillary or Bernie? She didn't inspire them. Bernie campaigned all over the country for her.
I'm not saying whose fault it was. I'm saying it's the kids and the people who said, we don't have what we want, we're not coming out at all.
Maybe instead of criticizing the kids, older folks need to inspire them to get out there. Why is it on them? You know, no one's entitled to anyone else's vote.
You don't say I didn't get my way, so I'm leaving. I'm taking my ball and going home.
If your future is looking like Australia right now, and you're buried in student loan debt, and somebody's not speaking to that,
that's fine. That's fine. You still have to have the best option. If it's not your perfect option, you can't say, okay, we didn't get everything's not perfect. Therefore, we're taking our ball and going home. I said that 3 times already. Sorry, guys. But that's the point. You can't just say we're leaving, we're going off, that's it, because that's bullshit. Okay, because this is not the way the world works. The world works on compromise. We have a government that's based on compromise. No matter what's happening, no matter who wins the presidency, even if the Democrats take the Senate and hold the House and win the White House, there's still going to be compromise necessary. You got to have. It's not going to be a major sorry to hit your mic. It's not going to be a major super majority that they can say we want. And I don't want that either. Do you really want that to happen? One party's in control of anything. You have corruption.
Well, I think there's compromise as long. I think my viewpoint is I'm okay with compromise, but not right out of the gate. I think Obama, a lot of people criticize him. I do. I mean, he basically offered, he started on the 50, 60-yard line with Republicans. He didn't go like, this is what I want. Obviously, you put forward a position at first that you know you're not going to get, but you start with what you want and you work from there. Obama hasn't done that. I mean, Nancy Pelosi just gave Trump a huge victory with this trade deal, no?
Maybe it was the right thing to work with him. I don't know. I don't have a problem with that. I don't have a problem with anything
I'm okay with compromise, but you got to actually go for what you want initially.
Isn't that what Congress is all about, compromising?
Congress is kind of bought off, if you ask me. Their compromises tend to help corporations and wealthy people.
Yes, of course, and yes, I know that. I know the routines. In a former industry I was in, I was very much involved in lobbying for our industry, and I knew what was involved. And the way I used to tell everybody, even local people, I said, every local politician, if you could just contribute $5, then you get on the mailing list, and then they got to see you. Then when you call on them, they're going to see you. That's the way it works.
Would you like to see that way it works change one day?
Sure, it would be really nice. It would be really nice to have yes, it would all be nice to walk around in togas discussing philosophy all day long. I mean, everything would be really nice. The British system of a 5-week election and it's all over, it would be very nice. It isn't happening here, especially with the open primaries. 1960, JFK, what's today's date, January 7th? As I said, I'm a historian. JFK announced he was running for a couple of years, but he didn't announce his candidacy until January 3rd of 1960. Okay?
I agree with you.
Okay, 1960. The first primary then was in March. It was New Hampshire. It wasn't in February. So the first primary was in March. They ran the primaries, but it was March, April, May, and June. That was the primary season. That was it. And he didn't announce until January. That was 60 years ago. some these 3-year they got it. It's all about money. It's all about raising money. That's all.
So we have a media that's owned by corporations, and campaigns are very good for business.
Yes, we do. Yes, we do. Maybe we have too much media. Something.
Or maybe we have too much corporate media that doesn't actually challenge anyone.
One of the things I try to get to my students is I don't care what you believe in. I don't care if you're right wing, left wing, center wing, any wings, no wings. I don't give a damn. I said, but you have to look at it and have your own minds, because we have more information available to us than ever before in the history of the world, and people are more illiterate. I believe 99% of the population is illiterate because people don't read. People read internet headlines. They don't read the stories even behind the story.
Somebody who goes around the country, I could tell you, to me, part of the misinformation, of course, there's Trump and the fake news and really bad stuff, but part of it, honestly, is you have these corporate outlets like CNN, MSNBC. A lot of times, they just have establishment folks on, towing establishment lines. A lot of them are lobbyists. A lot of them are consultants. A lot of people are not getting real information, whoever your candidate is. I interview people all the time that don't even know the people's policy.
You got to look at every side of the view. So look at the sides you don't believe with. I do that a lot. I'll go look at Breitbart. I want to hear what those idiots are saying. I don't care, but I want to hear what they're saying. You ignore them at your own peril.
What's your name?
Steve.
Thanks, Steve. I appreciate it.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Good luck. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you. God. So, I try to, I take great pains. I don't like to, if somebody takes the time to speak with you, and is willing to do that, I don't want to attack the person, He's not, it's one thing, if you're like a crazy Trump supporter or a racist or something like that, I will. But I don't want to, attack someone who took the time to speak with me. But I will say this, if that person is a history teacher, then we have issues in this country. Because I think he doesn't actually know his history. Some of the greatest, or some of the best things and worst things that have happened to this country have not happened incrementally. They happened really fucking quickly. FDR's New Deal was not incremental. It was really quick. Ronald Reagan, trickle-down tax cuts, tripling the military budget, or the deficit, pretty quick, right? Donald Trump passing an obscene, horrendous tax cut, happened pretty quick. This whole thing that things happen slowly and things happen gradually and we need compromise, it's a load of bullshit. Things happen very quickly when the politicians make them happen very quickly. When the politicians want them to happen very quickly. When the politicians, most of the time, politicians not even listening to the people they represent. Let's be real here. Our politicians represent their donors and lobbyists way more than the people they actually are elected by. So, this guy saying you have a Senate, you have a House, you have this, you have that, that's all true. But the reason that folks like him are content with the way things are is because folks like him, frankly, they're not pinched. I don't want to generalize. I'm not saying every single person in that Warren event I went to is well off. That obviously that's not the case. But there's so many people. I would say the majority of Hillary Clinton's base. I would say the majority of Warren's base, and the data backs it up based on their income. They have the luxury of having this worldview of, well, that's just the way things are. It would be nice for us to all get together in togas. Because they're not struggling. If his wife needs an emergency something, she's going to get it medically. I assume they were able to send their kids to a decent college. I don't think he's so worried about climate change because he's not going to live to see the worst effects. And what does money in politics matter to him? He's not working 3 jobs. Probably has decent health care. So it doesn't make the guy immoral. It doesn't make him evil. But it's as much class-based as it is race-based. And folks like him are deja vu to the folks I encountered in Hillary Clinton's corner. A lot of Warren supporters supported Hillary Clinton. And I'm sorry to say this. Some of you might not like it. But a lot of the women that I've interviewed, I shouldn't say a lot. I only interviewed a few the other day. It's very clear that a big part of why they're supporting Warren is because she's a woman. Now, I don't necessarily, I could understand that. I'm a man, so, I don't know what it's like to never have a man be president. Obviously, if I was a woman, I would want to see a woman president. I'm not knocking the desire. But at least just say, listen, I think it's time for a woman president, and I think she's qualified. But if I challenge you and you don't have an answer, they just throw out this nonsense, which happened in the case of 2 or 3 of the women I interviewed at that same event. They clearly want a woman president. A lot of them tend to be on the older side. Again, I'm a man. I'm not a woman. I totally get it's a disgrace that we haven't had a woman president. I would love to see a woman president. I'd like her name to be Nina Turner one day. But not at the expense of a quality, visionary, true, authentic president. And I think individuals like that man, who I don't have anything against him. I'm not trying to be rude, trying to criticize him. I appreciate him doing the interview. But people like that man are why we can't have real change in this country. Because they basically serve as protective shields for the status quo. That's what they are. He's not feeling the pinch. He's not feeling the effects of this. All that red line is going to the top 1%. And I have no idea what his situation is. He said his sister is very wealthy. He might not be super wealthy, but I didn't get an aura that, he's working 16 hours a day. Doesn't mean he didn't work hard to get to where he is, but it does clearly mean he's disconnected. And what's amazing to me, and this is, by the way, this isn't just a critique of Warren supporters, but there's no intellectual consistency. There's no intellectual consistency. And this is the critique I had for people that were hysterical at me for, daring to criticize Tulsi Gabbard. No. I don't give a shit if it's Bernie, if it's Tulsi. I'm intellectually consistent. I'm not going to pick and choose, okay? So, for example, if Tulsi Gabbard is having off-the-record meetings with Wall Street hedge funders, I'm sorry, I'm not going to rationalize that for Tulsi Gabbard. I'm not going to make excuses for Tulsi Gabbard. And it pisses me off that there's so many brainwashed people out there that are sycophants. She's not, impeachable. All of these politicians have issues, including Bernie. So, people are intellectually not consistent. If that's Kamala Harris, Cory Booker, Biden, Buttigieg, and they're having off-the-record meetings with Wall Street finance executives, they're not going to say, oh, well, I'm sure it was fine. But because it was Tulsi, how dare you, Jordan, you're smearing. It's the same thing with this guy, too. People like him, many Warren supporters, Bernie, he's just not practical. He's pie in the sky. There's no specifics how he's going to get any of these things done. Okay, then why are you here at an Elizabeth Warren event? She's saying she's going to pay for Medicare for all by providing comprehensive immigration reform? By cutting the military budget? Those two assumptions factor into her how she's going to pay for it. By the way, I don't even buy into this bullshit how you're going to pay for it argument. The money's there. We print money for war. We have the money for Medicare for all without raising taxes at all. But putting that aside, I read her plan. It makes wild assumptions that if Bernie Sanders had the same exact plan and said, well, part of the way I'm going to pay for it is passing comprehensive immigration reform, cutting the military budget, which, by the way, Warren just voted for the massive military budget, not the $738 billion, because she, Bernie, Booker, Kamala were not actually there for the vote. But the year before, she voted for the $715 billion defense budget. So I'm a privileged white guy, if you're that guy, and I think Bernie's radical and he's pie in the sky and he's not giving specifics, but Warren is providing fairy tale specifics. She's saying, oh, in the first 100 days, I'm just going to easy peasy, I'm going to pass the public option. Are you out of your mind? Does anyone believe Elizabeth Warren is going to pass a public option? Even if she had a full Democratic House, a full Democratic Senate, you think Elizabeth Warren is going to get a public option through the House of Representatives and the Senate within 100 days? Because, as I've said all along, and as Bernie has said, it's going to be an epic battle to get Medicare for all, but it's not exactly easy either to get a public option through. So you're criticizing, if this guy and some of the women I interviewed say, Bernie, no specifics, his white papers aren't polished enough, he doesn't consult enough experts. He does, but all this fairy tale stuff from Warren, I'm going to pass within 100 days a public option. Then after the midterms, where history tells you the president's party either loses both houses of Congress or at least one, after that, and I probably don't have full control of Congress, then in year 3, when my approval rating is down, when I'm facing re-election the next year, that's when I'm going to pass Medicare for all. So there's no intellectual consistency. None. The bottom line is, folks like him are supporting Warren not because of her plans, but because they feel more connected to a articulate, highly educated, and centrist than they do a warrior for the blue collar man and woman. That's it. People like him and other people I interviewed are more inclined to support somebody that is closer to them in their class. Because Elizabeth Warren, I don't think she's as bad as Hillary Clinton. I think some of you are crazy if you think that. I don't think she's as bad as Trump. But she's not, she doesn't have a long history of like being there, picketing and, marching with workers and showing up for the Verizon workers and the McDonald's workers and the Disney workers and the Amazon workers and the Walmart workers. That's just not her history. Sorry, it's the truth. Truth hurts. So we're going to try and do a lot more of that. Right now, we're at 780 members. I'd love to get more members before our monthly members call tomorrow night. By the way, we're doing a double whammy this month. We did not do a members call in December. Things got busy, the holidays. So we're doing 2 this month. So if this is the first one tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern. We'll have another one at the end of the month. Some of you have asked, so I want to address it. Jen and I have been teasing a big story we're working on. The truth is, and my lovely girlfriend is in the super chat, so she could attest to I guess I could say my frustrations. It's unfortunately not completely in our control. The story is done, but we are working on it for a larger outlet. The good news is I think this larger outlet, once it's published, will help the story really make a major impact, hopefully go viral, all those things. But when you're relying on a larger outlet, you know, they control the timeline. So right now the story's being edited. It's going through, I think, 2 or 3 more editors. Anat can tell you she's read it. It's fucking massive. I think that when it's published, for those of you who are like, Jordan, you know, you keep teasing, blah 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 blah. I think you'll be okay with how long it took once you read this. If it were up to me and Status Coup was a massive outlet in itself, this would have been out 2 months ago. But it's not up to me. We're hoping that it will be done by the end of this month, meaning out by the end of this month, at the latest, early February. I have expressed to the outlet I don't want this going out in the middle of a Senate impeachment hearing because it will get drowned out. It won't go anywhere. We'll talk more about this on the members' call tomorrow night. I'll have a couple more details. But that's the truth. It is coming out one way or the other. We're not, trying to play something up that's not real. It's a major story. It involves something that I've been covering for a long time, that a lot of you have followed me covering for a long time, and I think you're going to really appreciate it. So we'll talk a little bit more about it tomorrow night. Definitely join the call if you can. That's 7:30 Eastern time tomorrow night, 4:30 Pacific. I'm sure we'll definitely talk about the debate, which is Tuesday night. So we'll talk a little bit about that on the members call and tell you what we're working on. The truth is, we are kind of at this point, March. It's not really 2 years, but I guess in the spring, Status Coup will be approaching 2 years. We are kind of a lot of our success and a lot of our growth is based on you, the viewer. I wish we had a budget because right now we are growing but not fast enough, and part of the reason we're not growing fast enough is because we're being so. I mean, if you really closely follow our YouTube channel here, our subscriber growth is moving at a snail's pace. It's not because our content isn't good. It's not because when people come find us, they don't like it. It's because most of the time people aren't seeing our videos. Most of the time people don't see our live chats, our live streams. We're not recommended. We never fall in the recommended. So as a result, we're moving pretty slowly. And recently, YouTube started purging subscribers, so we've been losing subscribers some days. So it's up to you. Part of what we're trying to grow our membership is so we could advertise. We definitely need to advertise because there's a major issue with people not that they don't, not only that they're not seeing our videos, but they don't even know what Status Coup is. They don't know we exist. So, that's why we're trying to make it available to everyone. $5 a month, you can become a member. And Paul's right. YouTube literally admitted they were doing this a couple weeks ago. They openly admitted that they are elevating authoritative news, CNN and Fox News. I'm not making this up. That's what they said. And they are suppressing borderline content, meaning content not friendly to their advertisers. So that's why we're trying to grow on Twitch, twitch.tv/Status Coup. We're trying to grow on our Instagram. So follow us on Instagram. I think that's at Status Coup. Let me get the actual URL. I think we're almost at 1,000 on Instagram. And I'm much more familiar with Twitter. I'm kind of an old dude when it comes to Instagram, but I think we're growing on Instagram. If I could find our Instagram. Anat, can you put our Instagram in there, dear? Our URL? So, definitely sign up. And for our members call tomorrow, if you sign up as a member today, you'll get the link. It's through Zoom, not YouTube. So you'll get our link. Let me see if I could find. Why can't I find Status Coup? See, this is the thing. I can't even find Status Coup's Instagram on Google. How about that? Status Coup Instagram. Oh, there it is. Yeah, follow us on Instagram. We're almost at 1,000, I believe. Come on, we could link all of our social media to help Status Coup get the word out. Yes, you can. So pass it on Instagram. Pass on our Twitter. That's at Status Coup on Twitter. Put it up on Snapchat. We need Status Coup on Snapchat, Jordan. We're working. It's just Jen and I. We don't have any other help. So Jen's doing a million things, unfortunately. So I want to end with this. And again, we're at 780 members. So for any of you that have been on the fence, I hope you'll consider signing up. If you sign up, we just got a new member. Welcome, Will. We are now at 781. 781 Status Coup members. Maybe we could get a couple more before tomorrow's call. And I want to do a little Q&A before I end. Get on the text list, too. That's another great way. Thank you for reminding me. It's text 474747. That's 474747. And type in Coup. That gets you on our text list. A major way you could help us out. So, want to end with this. To me, as somebody who covered 2016, I think media plays a huge role in what happens here, folks. I'm not saying, by the way, that like Pete Buttigieg went down 9 points because of anything we did in South Bend. But what I am saying is the more there's actual journalists out in the field to challenge people, to challenge the Warren supporters, the Biden supporters, which Marcus has been. You are funding Marcus to be in Iowa. To be clear, we don't have the money to pay him beyond Iowa, unfortunately. He's freelancing for us, but he's paid out through Iowa. After that, we just don't have the funds to keep him. I mean, that's the truth. There's nothing else. I wish I could have better news, but we don't have the funds to keep him. So past Iowa, as of now, we don't. But I'll be in New Hampshire. I think I might go to Iowa before the caucus too. And we have other reporting that we plan on doing. So, but all we could do is as far as you take us. I know it sounds like not much, but every member we get does make a difference, particularly when I'm talking to individuals to try and get larger funding. The fact that if I could show them that we have X amount of stable members, a growing membership, which is our core model, they're more inclined to want to give us funding. And when I say individuals, I mean progressive individuals, not plutocrats, not major Democratic Party or Republican donors, not lobbyists, not big bankers, none of that. Our first investor, which was for $50,000, was literally a viewer I met at a conference. He works in tech. So, and by the way, for those of you asking, if for new members who are signing up now, you'll actually, when you sign up, we get your email. So you'll be added to our email list, and you'll get a link before the call tomorrow. It's through Zoom, and you click on the link. From there, you'll be able to easily join our call. And when I say it's a video call, but you don't have to be on video. So there's an ability to mute your video. So you could just listen. You could ask questions. You could listen and not talk if you don't want to. You can talk, but also have your video mic off if you don't want to be on screen. So totally whatever you do. Wait, does Jordan smoke weed? I should smoke more weed. No, I don't really smoke weed. I mean, if it's in front of me, I'll take a dab or two. But I've never weed's never been something I actually do myself. Not that I don't like it, but it's just never been something I do. So please share a Marcus interview before you sign off, Jordan. That was the plan. PJ Coin, 10 euros. Is that euros? I think so. PJ, thank you. 10 euros. Appreciate it. So, before I end, I want to answer a couple questions, comments, concerns. Let's talk. Maybe a few more members before I end. That would be nice too. Thank you all for tuning in on a Sunday. Really strong audience today, so that's nice. What weed smokes me? What's a dab? I don't know. A toke? Clear and focused Jordan is the best. Thank you. I can't function without it. A lot of people can't. A lot of people can't function without it. We got any questions, comments, concerns? Workout video. I'm actually going to start with my girlfriend Pilates, so I plan on making a video for you there. You'll get it. You'll get it. Don't worry, Lily. I'm a man of my word. Dialectical. I would love to get on Joe Rogan. Help me get on Joe Rogan. We've emailed his person that books guests, but we haven't been able to. To tell you the truth, I'd love to get on a lot of shows. I'd love to get back on Crystal Ball's show, Rising. I'd love to get back on with Jimmy. I'd love to get on with Kyle Kalinske, but I can't make him do it. I've offered. New member. We just got another new member, Neil. Welcome to the Media Revolution, Neil. We're now at 782 members. 782 members. Really excited. Neil, you'll get the link for tomorrow. We're now at 782. Can we get up to 785? Keep it coming. Jordan, when are you coming to Vermont? What's going on in Vermont? Maybe the general election campaign I'll come. Actually, no. I'm going to be up in New Hampshire to cover before the New Hampshire primary, so maybe I'll stop by my friends in Vermont. But I'm lactose intolerant, so I can't. Does Ben & Jerry have vegan flavors? Does anyone know? Because I can't eat ice cream anymore. It's killing my stomach. But vegan ice cream, I can. But I don't know if Ben & Jerry's has vegan. That would be nice. Jordan, really quick. Your thoughts on Bernie's VP. Who do you think would be best suited? I've said this time and time again. Give me Nina Turner. That's who I want as her vice president. I think it's the right choice. I think it's politically smart, too. I think she's amazing. I think she's amazing, and I think she would be the perfect vice president for her. And for me, I'd love to see her as the first woman president. And I think for Bernie, I mean, listen, love him, but he would be 79 on inauguration day. So he should pick someone younger. I think she's in her late 40s, maybe early 50s. So that's who I would want as his vice president. Jeff, more Marcus, please, now. Whoa, Jeff. Are you not paying attention to the channel? We've been posting his videos rapid fire. And we got a lot more Marcus videos coming out. But the truth is, I'm not the federal government. I can't print money. Right now, we have enough to fund Jen, Colin, our wonderful editor, graphics. He does great graphics for us. Fun, I need to take something. We're also right now kind of in a trial period with a camera person, which we obviously need, Jamal. So, we don't have funding beyond that. And part of that is because we refuse to take dirty money. If we wanted to just sell out and be like every other outlet, we would have gotten a corporate sponsor by now and, watered down the coverage to just be clickbait and bullshit, but we're not doing that. But I wish I could give you what you want, but I can't. When you do this the grassroots way, when you do this the right way, the ethical way, it's a little bit slower. Fairy free ice cream? Okay. Ice cream without milk is not ice cream? Yes, I'm aware. If only Status Quo could print money. Ugh. What a wonderful woman Anat is, my girlfriend. We just went to D.C., by the way. And by the way, if you live in the D.C. area, Baltimore in particular, they didn't pay me to say this, there is an incredible bookstore that is a socialist progressive's wet dream. It's called Red Emma's. You gotta go to Red Emma's if you live in Baltimore, Washington. It's worth the drive. We drove hours to go to D.C., but we also drove in particular to go to Red Emma's. Amazing books you won't find anywhere else. I got great books on socialism, on inequality, on media manipulation. I'm going to be busy in my bathtub reading these books for the next few months. Check out Red Emma's. And we might try and do an event there after we publish our story. Jordan, how about a GoFundMe for Marcus? Fluffy Bunny. You know, Fluffy Bunny, oh, we just got a new member. Welcome, Juan Moore. Welcome to the Media Revolution, new Status Coup member, Juan. We're now at 773 Status Coup members. 783 Status Coup members. Can we keep going? You know, to the GoFundMe comment, here's the deal. The truth is, I don't want, when you're growing, you know, you can only do so many things at once. So our goal right now is to build up our membership. Our membership, we need to grow because that is how we're going to be able to afford reporting in the field, also advertising, also additional staff. That's the main way we're going to be able to afford that. So we have learned, because it's all trial and error with a new media startup, when you're trying too many things at once, you don't do any one thing well. So it would be very difficult. First of all, I don't want to launch another GoFundMe because we just finished our GoFundMe. A lot of that money has been spent already, and some of the money we're spending on continuing to report in the field. I mean, for those that don't know, a lot of the GoFundMe money went to the travel around the country, $10,000 piece of equipment, advertising, miscellaneous business stuff, you know, legal fees, that kind of thing. But GoFundMe for Marcus, you know, if we're pushing another GoFundMe, it comes at the expense of really focusing on building our membership, which is what we need to do. To tell you the truth, if we could get our membership to, I don't want to say this like etched in stone, but if we could get our membership up over 1,000, we could probably keep Marcus for a considerable amount of time. But we got to do it. I mean, it's just we've kind of been stuck in the 700s for a few months now. Part of that's because we've been suppressed so hard. And that's another thing. We're trying to build our membership because we need to be able to advertise, which costs money. Like, basically, YouTube, Facebook, all of these outlets have become, not only are they suppressing us, but it's also a scam. They basically suppress you so that you will then purchase ads to boost your videos to basically make it available to the amount of people who would have seen it before they were suppressing it. So basically, we need to boost posts on Facebook and YouTube just to get it seen by viewers who would have seen it before the suppression. It's a money-making scheme in addition to censorship. So I'm not saying we won't ever do another GoFundMe, but right now our focus is on building our membership. And we just got a new member. Wow. It's always funny that the new members start signing up at the end of the show. So welcome new member Darren. Welcome new member Morgan. We are now at 785. 785 Status Coup members. Can we get up to 790? I'm holding in a P, by the way, to keep going. And just so you know, for those of you, because, you know, most outlets don't talk about it, I'm going to tell you all of our expenses. It is basically costing us between $2,000 and $3,000 every trip we take. Marcus in Iowa is costing us probably $2,500 to $3,000. The text list that we're using right now to try and build our text alert system is basically costing us $20 every time we text you. Because the more people that join the list, the more credits we have to purchase. It's such a scam. So this, I think the bill we just got was for like $250 just for a few texts we sent out. We have Colin that we have to pay. not have to. We're happy to do it. Jen, myself. There's also, we got to pay our taxes coming up soon. We have social media services we use. So it's just expensive. A network is expensive. It's not cheap. So we really, really hope, listen, not everybody could do it. Even $5 a month is too much for some people. But if you got it, I think it's better spent on us, who's actually showing you we're walking the walk. There are some outlets asking you to sign up, be a member, whatever they call it. And then what are they doing? A bunch of bullshit. 24/7 Trump, Russia, nothing of substance. They're not getting in the trenches. They're not doing this. Love that. So, if we could get to 1,000 members, I think we'll be able to keep Marcus and keep growing. But can't do it without you. Can't do it without you. So let's first get to 800, which now we're at 785. Yes, and also part of the reason we want to grow our membership, we do want to hire another marketing person. Edwin, are you still on Jimmy Dore's naughty list? I don't know. He hasn't responded to my text messages, so I guess. What can I tell you? I love Jimmy. I don't know. I don't really know why he's upset at me, but what can you do? So we want to hire another marketing person so we could move Jen over more to the journalistic side. If you saw Jen's work this week, she interviewed Rashida Tlaib. She interviewed Ilhan Omar. She interviewed Pramila Jayapal. I'm actually going to end the live stream on her reporting. So we want Jen to be able to move her over more to reporting and research, but we need to bring in somebody who could do the marketing. And we also want somebody who could come in, not just marketing, but we want somebody who could, we want to build not just a reporting unit, but we want to build something that actually activates our audience. I'm not saying like the TYT army. I'm not talking about that. Oh, we just got another new member. Welcome, Fernando. We are now at 786. 786 Status Coup members. And by the way, all of you folks signing up, you're going to get the link to join our members call tomorrow night. So don't make any plans. 7:30 Eastern tomorrow night. It's you, me, Jen, and however many join us. You'll get the link through your email. So we want to hire someone that is also, we've been told by people, Jordan, start a Discord, start this, start that. We want to have somebody who could, I don't want to say volunteers, but can take in more story tips and story pitches and actually vet stories that we're getting from our audience. So basically, we want a marketing person, but we also want somebody who's kind of like an audience liaison and could get, vet things that are being sent to us, but also run a Discord for us, those kinds of things, because we're not using volunteers. I am holding that pee, so keep signing up. Do you know how hard it is to do like 3 hours straight without peeing? Especially when you just downed an iced coffee. But I'm happy to do it. Keep signing up. We're at 786 Status Coup members. Can I get to 790? Jimmy is like Eminem. I love Jimmy, by the way. Don't take what I'm saying as the wrong way. I think he's just upset at me because I don't know. I don't really know why he's upset at me. He just seems like he's upset that I tweeted something critical of Tulsi Gabbard. So I don't know. I think we should all be okay with disagreeing with each other once in a while, but I'm a big fan of Jimmy. And I would love to be back on with Jimmy. So let him know. Warren is still a threat. Hey, she's at 17% in the Iowa. So, hey, Jordan, did you announce the emails that won the 10 memberships? No, I did not. I need to get that from Jen. I also don't know if they want me to announce their names, so I have to check with them. So we will announce it, though. We did get a sponsor to fund those 10 new members. And Jen will be contacting those people. She's just been swamped. So Those people who got the 10 memberships will be invited to the members call tomorrow, so don't worry. Jordan's anger is more passion. Nobody is good enough for Jimmy. Everybody's different. I think Jimmy is right on most things. Sometimes, not just Jimmy, but I think sometimes progressives lose sight of the bigger picture. And if somebody doesn't agree with them 100%, they automatically shut them down. But you're never going to have somebody agree with you 100%. That's just not reality. So, thank you for the super chat, though, Smeary, $5. Yes, we will be announcing whichever, if they're okay with us announcing their names, we will. And you will be contacted if you're one of those people that got the membership. New member, John. Wow, now you guys are coming in hot and heavy. You always like to wait till the end and make me hold in a pee. Welcome, new member, John. We're now at 787. 787 members. Can we get to 790 before my prostate explodes? Hello, Mr. Coup. Just came to say you are missing the Sunrise Movement stream. Thank you. I will have to tune in right after I sign up. John Zeller, I finally signed up for a membership. I appreciate what you guys do. Thanks, Jordan. Jimmy has gone off the deep end with Tulsi bowl washing. Well, I appreciate you signing up for a member. I don't know if he's gone off the deep end, but I appreciate it. If Jordan's beard keeps growing, soon he'll look like James Mason as Captain Nemo. Well, I appreciate it. I appreciate that. I have to get a haircut, though. It's getting a little too froey, and I don't like it. Kyle still holds the crown for progressive YouTuber. Hey, I love Kyle. And he's been doing this for a long, long time, way before myself, and I think way before Jimmy started. So, what's wrong with your prostate? I've been holding in a pee for about 45 minutes. That's what's wrong. So, Bernie would want us to bash him if warranted. I agree. All this talk about streams and Jordan's got to pee. Oh my God, you're right. I'm also drinking my fiber water, which looks like piss. Do a Mason impression, Jordan. I don't want to pretend that I know what the Mason is. I don't know. I like your hair, Jord, says my girlfriend. I know, but I'm hot in the back because it's too thick, so it's making me sweaty. You know how I sweat. My girlfriend's mad at me because I don't like Washington, D.C., and she loves Washington, D.C. I don't like who wants to be around the dome of corruption? Who wants to be in the thick of that kind of establishment crap? When Jank wanted me to move to D.C., I kicked and screamed until he buzzed off. I didn't want to move to D.C. Urine is stored in your bladder, not your prostate. Thank you, Teresa, for the body lesson on yes, my bladder. Then, excuse me. Ashley, whatever happened with you and TYT? You're 2 years too late. They fired me. That's what happened. I mean, I'm not getting back into that, but basically, there was an accusation against me. It wasn't true. TYT fired me, and yeah, that's it. So I started Status Coup with Jen and Betty a little over a year and a half ago, and I am so happy to be on my own now. I couldn't even describe it. It's a lot harder to be on your own, but I'm a lot happier on my own. TYT was great. It was a great experience. It gave me the opportunity. It helped me do great reporting, but I don't think I could have really gone the distance and done what I'm doing now at Status Coup at TYT. I don't think they were going to provide the resources for that. And frankly, God bless them, but I think our visions were very different. I think TYT kind of took a very sharp right turn to 24/7 Trump. And that I don't believe that that's journalistically what is needed. So that's what happened. But you know, I know some people at TYT still, and I wish them well. I don't like what they become. I think it's a lot of clickbait, a lot of Trump, not enough of the in the field reporting that I did there and that I'm doing at Status Coup. But that's TYT. You know, they will continue to succeed or fall on their own merits. So, yeah. DC is awesome. Parts of DC are awesome. There's parts that are not awesome, if you ask me. I do feel nostalgic for the day you and Jimmy were at TYT, but you're way better off now. I agree. I mean, like I said, TYT was a great opportunity. It was a great experience. But, towards the end, like, they were giving me difficulty that I wanted to keep going back to Flint. They wanted me to do other things, blah, blah, blah. And I said, I'm happy to do other things, but not cover Trump 24/7. That's not why I came here. So, and I didn't like the fact that they kept arguing with me about continually going to Flint. To me, that's part of why they were growing. That's part of why my channel was growing at TYT, because we stayed on stories that mattered. But, they didn't agree, so. And I'm starting to see people, not that I'm telling you to do this. I'm not interested in competing with TYT. Obviously, they're much bigger. But I am starting to see people tell me, hey, Jordan, I canceled my TYT membership and came over here. God bless you. Hopefully there's more. Do you know why Cenk and Wes Clark broke up? They had a deep relationship. I didn't know they were in a romantic relationship. Cenk and Wes Clark. That's news to me. Why they broke up, I have no idea. I know Wes Clark, Wes Clark was an interesting figure, especially at Standing Rock. So, Edwin, blessing in disguise, Jordan. Kept following you, and now we have status quo. It didn't feel like a blessing in disguise at the moment. It was a very, very tough experience. Jen helped me through it. My family helped me through it. There was painful lies spread about me all over the internet. But now, over 2 years later, it was the best thing that could have happened to me. I think it almost gave me the kick in my ass to start this. Because, to be honest, before I was let go from there, I was already thinking of starting my own thing. This just, forced me to do it. So, and, the people are answering. We're growing, not as fast as I would like, but we're still growing. And hopefully, we keep on marching to the finish line. That's all I could hope. All right, folks. I'm going to take a few more. Hopefully we can get a few more members while I'm live. We're at 787 members. Reminder, sorry if you've heard it 25 times. Tomorrow night, 7:30 Eastern Time, is our monthly members call. If you're a member, you know the drill. You'll get a link. If you become a member, you'll get a link in your email through Zoom. So you don't have to do anything. You'll get a link before the call tomorrow. It's statuscoup.com/join to become a member. I hope you do. Baby, Gerald, only reason I gave TYT any time was Jordan. Luckily, it was minutes before he left. Well, I'm glad you're here. And, I'm finding that part of the problem is a lot of the viewers I had at TYT aren't aware that status quo exists, or, they don't know status quo exists. I found that in particular when I've gone on Jimmy's show, I see a bump for about 2 weeks after, about 1,000 to 2,000 new subscribers, and you start seeing so many comments. Jordan, didn't know you were back. Like, dude, I've been back for 2 years. So it is an awareness thing. It's a suppression thing. They don't know status quo exists. So keep spreading the word. Jordan, I'm still salty about what happened. I don't know, man. Don't mention TYT with me. Trust me. If you're salty, I'm saltier. But you also have to move on and live your life. So don't be too salty. And hey, status quo probably wouldn't have happened this quickly without what happened. So there are victories even in bad experiences. I meant, can you play one of Marcus's interview now, please? Did I load Marcus's interview that I wanted to play? Hold on. You know what? I didn't load it. I was actually going to finish on Jen's interview because I thought it was really good. We'll play some more. I'm actually waiting. He's en route. Hopefully he gets an interview with hopefully he gets an interview with Congresswoman Tlaib or Congressman Ro Khanna today. But I don't have Marcus's interview loaded. But I am going to end with Jen's great reporting from the No War with Iran protest. Jen, I met up with her later in it, but Jen got to interview Rashida Tlaib, Pramila Jayapal, and Ilhan Omar which is amazing, and she did a great job. So I want to thank you guys for watching. I hope more of you will sign up tomorrow or today for our members call tomorrow. It'll be a lot of fun tomorrow night. We got a lot to discuss, probably TMI that I'll be telling you. But thank you for tuning in today, and thank you for supporting us. I really hope if there's a couple more of you that haven't signed up, you'll consider doing it today. Let's end with Jen's reporting from DC.
So we often hear about the cost of Medicare for All and other progressive programs, but we never really hear about the cost of war. What is this going to cost? Why is that?
I think it's because there's this idea that somehow war is going to be a good investment for us. It never is. We have to go to diplomacy, not to military solutions. We have to make sure that we are investing in our own people. And this war alone, the estimates are trillions of dollars that we will spend, even on a limited war with Iran. And think about what that means for people. It means less money for education, less money for healthcare, less money for infrastructure, less money for our lives here, but most of all, it means more devastation for the rest of the world. We cannot continue to have these wars, endless wars, where the people that get hurt are the people, children, mothers, fathers, families, our troops, but also the people of countries around the world.
Hey, it's Jen.
Jordan Sheridan.
And we're here at the No War with Iran rally or protest, and there was quite a turnout here. When I got
We're not calling in the aliens with our phones. This is for light. We're not at a Third Eye Blind concert with the lights. This is because we don't, have lighting or anything like that. So just throwing that out there.
Yeah, so fun to getting here, I don't know what crowd size you would say there is. I think the RSVPs online said about 800 people. And when I got here, there were Congress people speaking. I missed Congresswoman Lee, but I heard she gave a great speech. Got some questions into Congresswoman Jayapal and Omar and a couple others too. I mean, I did not get Merkley. Unfortunately, I could. You had to kind of chase these people down. Once they were done giving their speeches, they were being, yes, they got to leave as well, but they were kind of being whisked away by their people. So I had to. I texted Jordan. I said I got some cardio in because I chased them across the lawn in front of the Capitol building here. But got some good questions, good responses. I guess that's 2 members of the squad, so not doing so bad here at Status Coup.
And you got Omar on the same day that they have been, just disgraceful attacks on Congresswoman Omar. Because Omar, obviously being a refugee from Somalia, made comments that sympathized with what people in Iraq and Afghanistan can face. And of course, the Republicans, went in on her and tried to make her sympathizing.
Yeah, I actually have a story about that. So while I was kind of following Representative Omar across the lawn, there was this right-wing guy, I have to assume he was a right-winger, into the conspiracy theories that have been out there about Representative Omar, just screaming in her face. I actually had a couple words with him to try to get my question in, and he was just being obnoxious and kind of intimidating. But the question that I actually asked Representative Omar was about that specifically. I said, obviously we have, it's really disturbing to the country as a whole, but you specifically, you've been through war, you've experienced this, you're going through PTSD with, surrounding this. You're a representative, you're in Congress, but you're also a person. So how is that affecting you?
And let's listen what she had to say.
Congresswoman Omar, how are you doing personally with your past experiences with war on a personal level? I know it's in Congress and you have this job, but you are also a person.
I'm in Congress as one of the people who have very timely and critical memory of what it meant to live in a war zone. I remember the trauma that I'd experienced. I promised my constituents that I will bring all of myself to Congress and make sure that I give voice to everyone who feels voiceless And this is an opportunity to make sure that there's a face on every single Iranian who will be impacted if we continue to escalate the situation and find ourselves in war.
So her answer, she actually, at that point when I asked her the question, her person that was handling her was really trying to get her away from press, and I kind of hopped a couple walls to get over there when I wasn't supposed to be, but she stopped when she heard my question, and she actually looked straight into my camera, straight into my face, and answered it really, you could tell there was emotion there was experience there, just passion for fighting against this war, and it was really quite a moment. I think it was pretty impactful. So, kudos to Representative Omar for fighting against this war, and Representative Tlaib, and all the rest. It was good to see quite a turnout here. I was surprised to not see AOC, but I assume they thought she'd be swarmed. I don't know.
And I got here late because I thought it was at the White House, but apparently Capitol Hill. What are you going to do? But you also spoke with Congresswoman Tlaib, who will be going around with Bernie Sanders, I believe, this weekend in Iowa. Rashida Tlaib will be with Bernie. I think the Sunrise Movement, which is obviously the climate activist movement that's been very successful, they endorsed Bernie today, so they'll be with them. What did you ask Congresswoman Tlaib, and what were your thoughts?
So I asked Congresswoman Tlaib about the fact that nobody, and I kind of got a tip on this question from Jordan here, but nobody talks about the cost of war. When it's we're going to war, okay, that's it, we're going to war. We're going to approve these spending bills. Even so-called progressive Democrats are approving these spending bills for war. But when it comes to questions of Medicare for all or free public health care, free public college and education, people suddenly have questions. Where's this money going to come from? But nobody asks that when it comes to war. So that's what I asked Congresswoman Tlaib, and she had some good answers. And she talked about.
Let's take a listen to what Congresswoman Tlaib had to say.
We always hear about the cost of things like Medicare for all, for free college, things like that. We never hear about the cost of war. How do we counteract that? What do we do?
We have to talk about the human impact, the real human impact. I mean, right now I'm thinking about this young girl in my district named Carla who can't even afford insulin. Her mother constantly fighting for resources to pay to keep her child alive. No, it's just, the human impact is real. I mean, we have sick care, not health care in our country. We have, everything's now for-profit schemes, not only in our healthcare system, but we have mass incarceration that basically is led by corporate greed. We have literally education system that's for profit. Corporate greed is a disease in our country, and it's now festering into warmongering movements like this that you see by the president.
Yeah, so I was really impressed with her answer. Again, she was being whisked away by her people. Again, hopped a couple walls in the other direction. But I got there. She actually had to stop me from tripping a few times because I was walking backwards. But her answer, again, was you could tell that she kind of had, and I kind of look for the emotions of people too, as well as their answers. I don't want to just hear some canned answer. But I in my opinion, she had some real emotion in her eyes. She really cares about getting these public good things out there, healthcare and education out there. And the cost of war isn't something that should just be overlooked. And she was very clear on that point, and I think she gave a good answer.
And I also think, particularly with Congresswoman Tlaib, obviously she is Palestinian too. So, war with Iran, it's not directly with Gaza, but obviously being Palestinian, and I believe her grandma still lives there in the Gaza region. She knows what it's like for a larger country like Israel to really damage her people. So I think that even though she's not Iranian per se, war and imperialist military might is definitely personal to her. I came late, so I'm not going to pretend to have some grand scheme or thoughts, but I will say, based on my reporting over the weekend at the rally in New York City, and based on what we're seeing, yesterday, like you sent me this clip from CNN, like, oh, Donald Trump, he was so resolute in his speech. First of all, sounds like he just came out of a coma. He's slurring his words. And, frankly, does anybody think that if in 2 weeks, in 3 weeks, head-to-head polls come with whether it's Bernie, whether it's Biden, just beating the living heck out of him, Donald Trump just is going to roll out of bed, and maybe Mike Pompeo whispered something in his ear the night before and do something else here? And also, does anyone think Iran is just going to stop at bombing an Iranian base? You sent me, before I got here, that their commander is previewing we're not done. Harsher retaliation is on the way.
Yeah, that was actually terrifying. I'd stopped at a restaurant before coming over here. Actually, the restaurant, not to plug them, but it was an appropriate name. It was called Hawk and Dove, so right here by the Capitol. And right as I was leaving, the chyron on the screen of CNN said, what did it was like, Iranian president says that we're gonna, basically, this isn't over. We're gonna do more, we're gonna retaliate more. And it kind of, it struck fear into my heart. I mean, honestly, it's something to cover this, but we're also people, and it's really scary.
We want to make sure that we understand the consequences of hastily decisions like that, and we are now living with those decisions. And so it is up to us to make sure that we are pushing for more deliberative, more cautious, more righteous process.
I think the closest, Warren kind of alluded to it, some others have alluded to this wag the dog, which is basically like, before Kevin Spacey was a terrible predator, in House of Cards, when he looked like he was going to lose re-election, he was going to start, him and his wife.
Don't go missing, Jordan.
No, I'm saying him and his wife are going to start, World War III to keep election, and I don't think we're so far from that, because Donald Trump, first of all, he didn't know who Soleimani was probably 2 weeks ago, and he certainly doesn't understand or care about the geopolitical consequences. And the last thing I'll say, and of course the media is not talking about it because they're fossil fuel advertisers that are with them in their commercials probably wouldn't like it, but let's not mistake it. Donald Trump has explicitly said he wants to cripple Iran's ability to export oil. He wants to shut them out from the oil market. Iran basically rules and has power over, tell me, darling, if I'm right, the Strait of Hormuz.
Make it clear, Anat is behind the camera.
Yes, my wonderful girlfriend is freezing behind the camera for us. She's a member of the Coup. But Trump has basically staked his presidency, besides the corruption, in making America #1 oil exporter. He claims that means we're energy independent, even though all this fracked gas and crude oil is not being used here. It's going to other countries. But he wants to cripple Iran and sanction other countries that are that are importing from Iran. He wants to basically cancel them out from the world's oil market, so America could take over the oil everywhere. Also, I happen to think Saudi Arabia would benefit if Iran was crippled in terms of oil production. And does Donald Trump have any business ties with Saudi Arabia?
Just a little bit. This guy seems to have some business ties pretty much everywhere. He would stand to benefit from this.
But that's why I never bought into this Russiagate stuff, because if anything, yes, Trump and the Trump real estate company definitely did some money laundering with Russia. I mean, all you got to do is read about him in New York City in the 80s and 90s. But there's a lot more shadiness when it comes to Donald Trump and Saudi Arabia than Russia. All you got to do is Google it. Before we freeze to death, what should people know? Obviously, Status Quo's been all over the place. Marcus is in Iowa freelancing for us, covering Biden, Bernie, Warren, Klobuchar. I was just covering these protests in New York City. You're covering this. I was covering Warren. We're all over the place. And we really only have the resources to light ourselves with our cell phones. So should people join us for more reporting and to provide more funding so we could maybe have a camera person here and a light stand and all those good things?
I mean, that would be, I'm not going to lie, I was pretty jealous looking at some of the other media here that had their fancy lights and cameras and things like that. So, no, honestly, we're happy being, pulling ourselves up by the bootstraps, to be GOP for a second. But we're going to report no matter what. We'll report from our cell phones for as long as we need to. But the reality is, we want to get to more places. We want to cover more things. We want our stuff to be picked up by other media. And it is getting picked up by other media, even with our kind of grassroots start. But still, we want to grow so much more. We want to have other reporters. We want to do more marketing. We want to get out there. We want to come to your neck of the woods. So if you go to statuscoup.com/join and become a member for as low as $5 a month, that helps us do that. Plus, you get some cool stuff like behind the scenes videos and photos and member calls. And this month, we're doing 2 member calls. So it's extra fun, an extra boost there. Plus, we have some pretty cool plans coming up. So definitely right now, while you're thinking about it, go to statuscoup.com/join, become a member. You can also, if you'd rather donate or if you're already a member, go to paypal.me/statuscoup or gofundme.com/status-coup-news, and you can give whatever amount. Every amount helps. Anything else?
From the Dome of Corruption, this is Status Coup. The Dome of Corruption is behind us, by the way. Thank you for watching, and hopefully you could fund us a little more before the world ends. Good night. Hope you enjoyed that last video. Hop on over to statuscoup.com where you can sign up for our email list and become a member for as low as $5 to $10 a month. Membership is how we grow. That's statuscoup.com/join. And remember, join our email list so we can grow the revolution with you.